bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game.
Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
Listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Well. Here we go. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Today's Monday, August 22nd, 235 days into the new year, 131 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. I'd like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. It's Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planets. I'm your so humble host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? It's Monday. Kicking off another amazing week here on Fade to Black. Tonight, we have very special guest, filmmaker Jeremy Corbell is here to kick off night one of 2 straight weeks of pure UFO coverage. More on that in a minute. Tomorrow night, Ruben Uriarte is here. Wednesday night, out of retirement, and we have him. Anthony Sanchez joins us. Thursday night is another Fader night with John Rappaport. The call-in number is 323-825-5045. And in a few minutes, Serena Wright Taylor is back with us. She's going to be here. She's going to let us know what she's seeing out there with our world. An important message tonight from Serena. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do, at JChurchRadio. Facebook, YouTube, you know what to do. Everything is Fade to Black, Jimmy Church Radio, whatever. Just go follow, like, and subscribe. Go click on those 3 little buttons over on the website. You can email throughout the show tonight, Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com. The sandbox is hashtag F2B. That's where you want to hang out, interactive, in real time. Hashtag F2B, that is the sandbox. Any questions or comments during the show tonight for any of the guests or myself, just use hashtag F2BQ. That's Fade to Black Questions. Very simple. Fade to Black Questions, F2BQ. All right, now let's get a few things out of the way before we kick off this show. CCCP Publishing is our newest sponsor here at Fade to Black. Just go and click on their banner right now at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Order Future Esoteric by author Brad Olson for $12.97, a very special Fader Not price, and they'll send you another book for free. They'll throw another book in the box when they ship it to you. Just use the promo code Jimmy. Life Change Tea. Right now, just go and click on their banner and go to getthetea.com. Use the promo code Jimmy when you order. You will get free shipping. And their newest product is Allison C. Every capsule has, and this is my regimen this month, which is pine bark extract, Allison C., and the 8th element. That's what I'm doing every single day. And Allison C., every capsule has 30 to 40 garlic cloves in it, but you don't reek. And that's the advantage here. And I think Ronnie McMullen from Life Change Tea will be on with us tomorrow night. One of the great companies in the world, Life Change Tea, getthetea.com. Just use the promo code Jimmy when you order, either over the phone or online. And also Studio Dome, their Fade or Not special, which is a high-fidelity, true wireless stereo, high-fidelity Bluetooth stereo system, $129 in a hard shell case, 60% off the normal price of $399, and you also get free shipping. Just go and click on the banner right now at jimmychurchradio.com. All right, let's get this show cracking. Today, Kristen Wiig is 43. She's pretty funny, actually. Christine Wiig, 43. Cindy Williams is 69 today. She played Shirley Feeney on Laverne and Shirley. But she was, to me, she was better in the film American Graffiti. Tori Amos today is 53. Our dead guy's birthday today. Moment of silence. Lane Staley, 1967 to 2002, died at the age of 34. He was the lead singer, rhythm guitarist, and co-songwriter of Alice in Chains, which he founded with guitarist Jerry Cantrell in Seattle, Washington in 1987. Alice in Chains rose to international fame as part of that huge grunge movement in the early 1990s. And also, became known for his distinct vocal style, but it was his harmonized vocals between him and Cantrell that, to me, made it very special. By mid-1996, Staley was out of the public spotlight, never to perform live again. He also struggled throughout his adult life with depression and severe drug addiction, and which obviously ended with his death on April 5th, 2002. I had the opportunity to hang out with Lane, I don't even know, dozens of times. I don't know. And I always thought he was just a really, really cool guy. Really a cool guy. And there you go. Happy birthday, Lane. You're up there rocking somewhere. On this day in history, 1992, it went down. The incident at Ruby Ridge. It was the second day of a standoff at Randy Weaver's remote northern Idaho cabin. FBI sharpshooter Lon Horiuchi wounds Weaver. And then Kevin Harrison, and then kills Weaver's wife, Vicky, on this day in 1992. Fate or fact? Check this out. An estimated 80% of available jobs in the U.S., 80%, never get posted or advertised. Isn't that a trip? 80%. You would think Monster.com had that dialed, right? 80% of the jobs in the U.S. never get posted or advertised. Okay, so this is the deal. Tonight, we're kicking off 2 straight weeks of pure UFO coverage. We're starting it tonight with Jeremy Corbell. Tomorrow night, Ruben Uriarte. Wednesday, Anthony Sanchez. And then next week, special announcement, and I never do this in advance, but next week we have Tom DeLonge right here on Fade to Black, and Linda Moulton Howe on Fade to Black. And then we have another, if that isn't enough, we also have a very special announcement that we're going to do tomorrow for our third guest next week. But Tom DeLonge, Linda Moulton Howe next week. This week, Jeremy Corbell, Ruben Uriarte, and Anthony Sanchez. It's just an amazing couple of weeks here on Fade to Black. And then the week after, 3 weeks from now, you're not going to believe the week that we've got lined up then. So there you go. This is Fade to Black. All right. Want to bring on our good friend, great astrologer and woman of the world, Serena Wright Taylor. Serena, good evening.
Good evening, Jimmy. Hello. I'm feeling really at home here, having been on before.
How are you?
Oh, great. Thank you.
So... the world is in flux right now, and you and I were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, and you said, "Well, Jimmy, man, I've been looking at what's going on here, and I've got some stuff, and I need to talk about it." Yeah. And so you're right. What is it that you're seeing out there? What's going on?
And it's going on this week. In fact, it's already started. And so this is a really rare and challenging and possible violent and explosive conjunction between Saturn and Mars. That's different from other times. This has happened except right back in the Revolutionary War then. But I'll explain why in a minute. But I just want to say first, I'm not doing this to make us fearful. I really don't want anyone to buy into the fear that's going around, and this can really bring, fear as well. And so we really want to be positive and take action in a good sense. And I suggest really that we send out positive energy. And because this is a kind of revolutionary energy, we can make it a revolution in consciousness. Because people are powerful, we are spiritual beings in a human body, and we can do that. So that's the reason I really want everyone to know. At the same time, just to be careful and be aware. And the reason why this is an extra strong transit of Mars to Saturn is because, first of all, Mars retrograded in Scorpio, and this is in Vedic astrology and also in the astronomy. It retrograded, and it came, and it's coming back over Saturn now. So it's already been crossing Saturn already, and it's been Saturn also has been going retrograde, and it has just recently goes direct. So a planet is really strong when it turns direct. It recently turned direct, and so did Mars. So we've got two planets that bring about karma that are pretty strong right now, very strong, in Scorpio. And on top of that, this whole thing is going on right on Antares, which is a star very much like Mars, fiery and warlike. And Mars in general, and for people if they're not familiar, is it brings about anger and war and powerful movement. But of course, it can also be very positive. We need Mars for action, for being assertive and strong in our lives. But in this case, this combination is more on the negative side. And then Saturn it brings karma, delays and setbacks. And so it's a kind of opposite energy. And that can really produce some kind of explosive energy. And on top of that, we've got Neptune square the whole thing, which it actually, in one sense, it can bring secrets, revealing secrets. So this whole energy can bring about a shakeup of some kind. But at the same time, we can find out things we didn't know. We can get, secrets about the world, or whether it's politics or ourselves or anything, or even UFO disclosure possibly. But it can bring about these things. And so, like I was saying, I don't want it to be something that's fearful for people, but more like to think, how can we use this for our best? And also to know that this can also be something that can cause earthquakes, and it can mean that as well. So we can send a lot of love to Mother Earth, for instance, and visualize that as well. But like I said, we can use this for the good, but we have to be aware that this is something to be careful of. And those people who have planets right there in the middle of Scorpio in your Vedic chart, those people are actually calling me. Most of my clients right now, people who have Scorpio planets and Taurus, which is opposite. And so, it can bring about problems in various ways. Sometimes it's just hard work or a little stress. Doesn't mean the worst. But it can trigger these things. Now, it's this week. It's now. They're up in the sky at night. They're already up here in California, Mars and Saturn, together with Antares, which is also kind of orangey. And I saw them I've been seeing every night actually for a while. And it can trigger an action that takes place not necessarily on the actual days, which is the day tomorrow and the next day, 23rd and 24th as well. But it can trigger actions or events that occur for the rest of the month and into the first weekends of September, because we also have a solar eclipse on the 1st of September, which is a kind of a strong eclipse because it also takes place in Leo, where this and so the Scorpio planets, the Mars and Saturn are square that solar eclipse. So you can see there's a lot going on here. And actually I was talking about this with Linda Moulton-Howe the other day, and she was telling me that the remote viewers are seeing these same dates. So I don't know if they were looking it up because of the astrology or not, but I didn't listen to everything because I didn't want that to affect what I'm looking at, and I'll look at that afterwards. But yeah, a lot of people are seeing this as a difficult time, a challenging time.
Yeah, there was some stuff out there. I don't want to mention any names, but I was speaking to a few of the remote viewers about this. And they were saying the same thing to me, that they didn't want to freak people out. They didn't want to say, hey, this is only what we're seeing. And if something goes on, we just don't want to be a part of it, and we don't want to freak people out.
Yeah.
And I found that really interesting. I don't want anything to happen. Nobody does.
No.
But certainly it's weird that it comes from two different camps, and that people seem to be talking about this. Now, in your comments, what I find interesting here is that this isn't necessarily pointed at specific birth dates or specific charts. You're saying that, Earth in general right now could be affected.
Yes, well, the planets and in the sky are always affecting the Earth in one way or another. And just like we were talking about the retrogrades, of course the planets are not actually going backwards, but it's just like when we're on the freeway and we go past another car, it looks like that car is going backwards away from us, from our point of view. So that's what obviously they're not turning, but from our point of view they are, and they're staying at one point in the sky. They get extra strong, and that's what's been going on with Mars and Saturn.
What does for the listeners, really quick, that may not know, what does retrograde mean when you're talking about this?
Well, it appears that the planet's going backwards from our point of view. So when you look at a chart, for instance, it'll be going backwards. But like I said, it's as if we were driving past another car on the freeway, and the car actually isn't going backwards, but we're going faster than the car. So the other car looks like it's going backwards. So that's actually what's happening. So from our point of view, and so that really, that's that can make things happen. That can trigger things. I mean, I've done this for years and years and years. Been watching, the planetary conjunctions and things. And this is, really rare. Like I was saying, our other astrologers too are talking about the Revolutionary War had this kind of setup, and that's really a long time ago. And what was going on at that time was the same thing, where Mars was also in Scorpio, and it retrograded with Saturn at the same time. So they're both there, and Mars is spending an extra long time in there. So it's a kind of a revolutionary energy. It was the same time as the Industrial Revolution in England.
Right.
So there's, like this changes could happen, but they could end up to be good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Revolutionary War, gnarly. Yes, it was, but ultimately it was a good thing.
I suppose so.
Right? Well,
yeah.
I'm sure that Great Britain, looking back, wishes they dealt with it a little bit differently, because we would be part of the UK.
Yeah.
But we're not.
I'm both still.
Yeah, right. Now, how can we turn the possibility of this negative energy into good? How do we do that?
Well, I think that, everyone can do that in their own way. And I think one really important thing is, like I was saying earlier, to remember that we are spiritual beings. We're so bright and full of energy and light and purity and incredible power. And we're not weak. We're not here just to be pushed around by whatever happens. So, and we can do this with our consciousness. It's not that you have to go out and do something, in the world necessarily, but just with our own consciousness and meditation, prayers, sending love to the world, especially like the Earth. Like I said, it could be something like a shake-up with the planet. So, and we don't treat the Earth very well as human beings, everybody. So the thing is, to think of all those things, and I like to visualize things like not happening. Like if someone was trying to do a bad thing, they couldn't get hold of a weapon, or they were late, or, I actually visualize things like that sometimes. Like it's not going to happen because some bad guy couldn't, do what he wanted to do. But I think, we have the power in that way. And I would suggest, if anyone's got something really important to do, just to put it off till after the eclipse is over. Like, September's a great month to start new things. And I would say, if you're going to do anything really important, you don't want the birth chart of your project or something to have this conjunction on it, because everything has a birth chart. We have a natal chart ourselves, but things we do, projects we start, when we sign a contract, all those things have a beginning time that has a chart. So I would say wait into September if you can for most of these things. But, I help people with that kind of thing all the time. And it works if you have a good chart to begin with. So that's another thing, a person can do. And then, if it's strongly on your chart, if somebody knows that in Vedic astrology, they have a planet or some planets right in the middle of Scorpio, right in the middle of Taurus, then, to take it easy, not to try to do too much this week, and know you can get going next month. So that's what I would suggest.
And if somebody feels something or could possibly go negative with their attitude, just to put it in check, right? Just put it in check. It's not. It's not you. It's not your mom, right? It's not your wife. It's other things, and try to recognize it in that light as opposed to flying off the handle and going negative.
Absolutely, because this is an angry energy, and so it'll bring up anger, and other people can be having an argument, and we don't want to join in. You'll see that people will see that around. So just don't take part. Just know that's the kind of energy that's going on. Yeah,
that's so interesting because most people don't do that. I mean, they don't understand really what's going on, but it's other things that are pushing this on you.
Yes.
And you don't recognize what's going on. And if they only knew, they go, oh man, it's that friggin' Mars Saturn thing.
Why did I feel like that at that time? I don't understand. I was,
Right.
But right. It triggers things.
So the Conscious Life Expo coming up.
Yes.
And what is special about this year's event?
Oh, well, I can't let you know everyone yet because not everyone's confirmed, but I can tell you Whitley Strieber is going to be there with us. This is in February next year, on the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th of February at the LAX Hilton. Daniel Sheehan, Linda Moulton Howe, Stephen Bassett, Richard Dolan, Laura Eisenhower, Jason Martell, Barbara Lamb, Mike Barra, William Henry, Rosemary Ellen Guiley, and of course you.
Yep.
And also I was going to say, John Perkins, Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Oh, he's going to be there. Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I just heard today. And Lisa Garr. Oh, Kyle Cease, the inspirational speaker. He's going to be with us. It's going to be incredible, and of course we're all going to be there for your show. A lot of these speakers you'll be able to interview on the Friday night. Oh, of course, David Wilcock. I didn't even mention David Wilcock as well, and Corey Good, of course.
It's going to be fantastic. So we'll be we're going to broadcast Fade to Black, everybody, on Friday night. And then I'm going to host the Ancient Alien panel sometime on Saturday.
It will be Saturday morning. Is
it going to be early Saturday morning again?
Well, it is, because I talked about that. But the thing is, we don't want you to be up against anything else that people don't like that. They too many, things of the same interest all at once. So, you might have to get up early again.
I'll let everybody know. Serena last time calls me. The panel's starting shortly, and I thought it was. It doesn't matter. I'm running downstairs, but it's going to be great. And
it's incredible.
So, on the Ancient Alien panel this year, who do we have?
Oh, well, there's actually someone I can't mention yet because I didn't get a confirmation. But we will have Jason and Mike and William. And Linda, and of course, and maybe a couple of other people that I can't mention yet because we're in the process of confirming everyone,
but there is
can't say.
I'll just let everybody know. I know who it is, and it's a big one. And you know what? We'll pull that off. I'm not worried about that. I think it's going to happen, and it will certainly complete the circle, no doubt. But it's going to be great. And so now on the conscious side of Conscious Life. Who are your main speakers?
I was just going to, like some of those aren't quite confirmed yet either. I was just talking to Diana about it, and we really don't want to sort of announce everybody until it's confirmed. But I did tell you, Kyle, and I have to hold on a little bit with some of these.
Oh, man. and of course we have George Norrie is going to be there, and we'll do the coast to coast thing, and Lifetime Achievement Awards. Have you got that lined up yet?
Whitley,
oh,
and
of course.
Anne. As many of your listeners know, Anne Strieber has passed away, but the award is going to go to both of them.
Oh, and who's going to present that?
I think it's going to be George. I think,
as it should be, as it should be.
Yes. So. Oh, and I forgot to say, for the conscious, I'm looking at all my notes. For the conscious side of conscious life, Matt Kahn and Julie Dittmar are going to be there again. Everyone loves them. They're going to be there again.
It's such a great event, and I don't know when your website's going to be ready, but for everybody out there, it's at the Hilton at the LAX, and it at the Hilton at LAX, and it's in one place. There is usually 50, 60 speakers. I don't know how many banquet rooms are tied up for this event, but it's a lot.
Most of the hotel.
Most of the hotel, and it's just a gathering of a wonderful vibe. And if everybody hears about the Conscious Life Expo, you hear about it, and it is big and it's so much fun. But if you've never been, you really need to attend the Conscious Life Expo. It's one of the extraordinary events of the year, and we look forward to it. And thank you for your support. And it's going to be another extraordinary event once again this year.
And I'm going to do a talk on Friday about organic UFOs and multidimensional beings.
Organic UFOs? Yeah. Oh, you mean non-GMO UFOs?
That's what my husband says. He says, you mean we can eat them? But I don't know how else to explain. I just like to talk about the fact that a lot of UFOs, then they're conscious themselves. If they're not just an object that someone else is traveling in.
No doubt. Well, I look forward to it. And give my best to Doug, Serena, and thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
You got it. Serena Wright Taylor. Now, everybody, so just listen. Things may get a little funky this month. They just might, but it's not you. It's not your significant other. It's just the universe playing games with us. All right? Oh, man, what's going on here? There we go. This is Fade to Black. Coming up next, thank you, Serena Wright Taylor. Coming up next, right now, Jeremy Corbell will be here. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black, kicking off night 1 of 2 straight weeks of pure UFO right here on Fade to Black. I'll be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. Doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil 3-letter. So, seriously. Give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
Hi, folks. Ronnie here reminding you that June is Health Awareness Month, sponsored by Get the Tea tea.com. Many of you have heard our tea commercial, maybe visited the website, but haven't committed because, well, you just don't know. Skeptical. We understand. Just to remind you, our tea is not just tea. In fact, very little tea. Life Change Tea is a unique blend of 8 different herbs, removing intruders that attack your health. You brew our tea to make the concentrate, you add water, and put in the fridge. 2 8-ounce glasses a day, and life will be good. Visit us at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And this month is lots of fun stuff with Health Awareness Month. You could be picked and receive your order absolutely free. You never know. Read the testimonies and try our products. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And for great health tips, visit my YouTube channel at Health Matters Now, where you can learn about health tips and how products work on your body. Join me, getthetea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Kletsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fader-Knots rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Kicking off 2 straight weeks of pure UFO here on Fade to Black. Tonight, obviously, Jeremy Corbell is here. Tomorrow night, Ruben Uriarte. Wednesday night, out of retirement, Anthony Sanchez. Next week, Tom DeLong and Linda Moulton Howe. How do we do it here on Fade to Black? I mean, I just don't know. But we pull it off, don't we? You guys are so spoiled. This is the biggest, greatest audience out there, and you guys are just spoiled. I wish I was you. Tonight, Jeremy Kenyon Lockyer Corbell is here. He's an American contemporary artist and investigative filmmaker based right here in Los Angeles, California. He documents extraordinary individuals on their belief systems. This research has taken him into the worlds of nanotechnology, aerospace exploration, exotic propulsion systems, as well as an in-depth examination into the life and discoveries of enigmatic Godfather conspiracy John Lear, also Bob Lazar. He has obtained deathbed confessions from former CIA and government intelligence officials who claim to expose the truth about the UFO reality and the worldwide cover-up of the ultimate truth. His film work reveals how ideas held by credible individuals can alter the way we experience reality and force us to reconsider the fabric of our own beliefs. That was a mouthful, but tonight we're going to discuss the people deep within the aerospace, military intelligence, conspiracy, extraterrestrial, and underworld conspiracies and communities. His website is, of course, extraordinarybeliefs.com. I'd like to welcome back to Fade to Black our good friend, Jeremy Corbell. Good evening, Jeremy.
Hey, Jimmy, thanks for having me on.
Well, you know, I announced it to you earlier tonight. Kind of strange, but tonight is 1 year ago today. You were on Fade to Black, and we didn't set this up. It's just called synchronicity, right? You just got to go with it.
It's called an anniversary, Jimmy.
Yeah, well, you call it anniversary. I call it weird. So there you go, man. And so it's been a year since you've been on the show. I got to go straight here. What have you been up to?
Oh, man, the work never stops, Jimmy. I mean, you know, essentially I've been going deeper into the investigations that I had started, you know, maybe 7-8 years ago. Additionally, as you know, this phenomenon has not slowed down. It has increased. And so the cases that are coming my way, the ones that I feel that I can move the needle forward on, are the ones that I have been focusing on. You know, there's always stuff new to reveal, and there's always stuff that I have to keep in my back pocket until I can. At this time, I really have a load of material out there that people can go look at. And so, just kind of the whole archive is building. We can get into specifics as we go along.
And we will, and I want to start here. You have actually, I want to start with Las Vegas, but
really cool.
Yeah, we're going to talk about, because that blew me away. We're going to get to that in a second. But you have the ability with a camera to capture a look and a feel that is extraordinary. I was talking to Rita today about your talent with this. I mean, seriously. I mean, it's like a WTF moment for me. How do you pull that off? And do you see it through the camera? Is it a special lens? Is it the framing? I mean, what pulls this look off that you achieve?
Well, I appreciate that. My one and primary goal in documenting with film the extraordinary beliefs of credible individuals and this whole world of extraordinary beliefs that I've kind of created online was to simply do one thing, which is to uplift the visual medium in which people are consuming these complex ideas. So, thank you for saying that. That's really one of the greatest things I can hear, that you enjoy the aesthetic, because in the storytelling process, number one is people need to trust you. Half of my job is revealing secrets, and the other half is not revealing them and making sure that I earn the trust of people so they will candidly open up to me. The other kind of beautiful thing about being a one-man show, a lot of people think I have a team. And there's no team. I film, edit, direct, sound, everything. Everything of mine is through my lens, what I do. So it's really a juggling act. I use all natural light. I don't use any artificial light in any of my films. It's, I just can't when it's one person. So essentially just have to pay attention and, do the best you got. And I actually just look through the back of the camera using a 5D. And, the content is king, but when you can kind of serve it in a way that is aesthetic, maybe, beautiful, then people tend to open up to it. And like has happened to me, as I like to say, my curiosity has been weaponized. These stories do not need to be fabricated. They alone, in their truth, in their ideas, are so profound and so world-changing that, really, you don't need to make anything up. The reality is stranger than fiction.
How do you, I'm going to stay on the aesthetic here, too, as well. I don't want to let this thought go. But also, you have been at the right place at the right time a lot lately. How do you account for that?
It's a conspiracy, Jimmy.
Yeah, it is, man. I want some of this.
I don't know, man. I have been very fortunate and very lucky to be at the right place at the right time. Now, that either means one of two things. I'm a real lucky person, which if any indication of that, me going to Vegas would tell you I'm not a lucky person, then it would just be that I'm there, that I dedicate myself. And, I don't just go and film, John Lear for an afternoon and think I have, the encapsulation of a man on film. I've spent years, sleeping on John's floor, spending time with him. And that really has opened a lot of doors to meeting other people and that sort of thing. And I guess the other, kind of edge I've had is, you all know George Knapp. He's an incredible investigative reporter. He has really taught me the ropes of how to navigate this world of sand traps and pitfalls and lies and deception from all ends. So I've had a great mentor, and I've had a lot of dedication. And honestly, I think just being there, just putting that time in has allowed me some really extraordinary opportunities.
Yeah, and there's one thing about Knapp that I've noticed as brushed off on you, which is a good thing, and it's the ability to ask the right question at the right time. And he's he's somebody that I've looked up to over the years. Obviously, we both co-host over at Coast to Coast. And when you listen to Knapp and the way that I've heard, your interviews with Knapp on Coast I've listened to, and he has the ability, well, there's a reason why he's won all those awards, right? He asked the right question at the right time, and now I see that a lot in you too. It's not some long, elaborate question like I'm doing right now, right? It's not that. It's the simple question at the right moment that causes people to give those extraordinary answers. And you have really started to pull that off.
He's as sharp as a dagger, George Knapp is. And to tell you the truth, his kind of motto that I've kind of learned from him is that it's our job to investigate the unexplained and not to explain the uninvestigated. And, no truer words have ever been spoken. And so that's kind of something that I'm really grateful to have his insight as I move forward with some of these cases.
Now, okay. Now we'll get to the extraordinary world of ufology in a minute. But Lost Vegas, your film, holy crap. Right? Now, is that, where did the idea for that? I mean, obviously there's the characters that inhabit the Las Vegas Strip, right? I get that. But where did the idea come from, and how did you manage to get that collection of characters on film? It's crazy.
It's so funny that, you pick up on that one film. To me, that's one of my favorite short films I've ever done. UFOs are mentioned in it, but really it's about the humanity, the individuals that literally just, I came across walking on the Strip. And what's so funny about that is this is the first piece of film that I have ever shot. This film was shot years ago. And why it was shot was because I finally got that call from John Lear after, I think, 3 years of trying to get him on the phone. And one day my cell phone rings and it's Lear. And he goes, "Jeremy, it's John. I hear you've been trying to get hold of me. Come over. I live in Vegas." And it was hilarious because it was, 3 years to get that phone call. So I grab a camera that I had gotten for my wedding as a wedding gift. And I'm like, I'm going to go film some stuff now. Head out to Vegas, go see John. And it was the most awkward, uncomfortable, I'd say, first few days, but the first day in particular, he would give me nothing. I would have to generate all questions. He wouldn't even look me in the eyes. He would just, when he'd look at me, he'd just stare down the barrel of a cigar and just decide not to answer me. So it was a no-go with the camera. I mean, there was no turning that camera on, and I was bummed. Right. I mean, I was so bummed. For years I've been trying to, capture some footage and some information from this man that has this extraordinary life separate from UFOs, kind of like this godfather of conspiracy. So I left his house that night, and I hadn't shot a single frame of footage. I literally didn't really know how to use the camera. And I started walking with my camera, head hung low on the Las Vegas Strip. And then all of a sudden, I started just taking, kind of B-roll, just shots that I thought were beautiful. And I started adjusting the aperture and figuring out the lighting of Vegas, which is so interesting. And all of a sudden, these people, it was like they would just jump in front of the camera. I mean, I barely had to ask or go up to people. They would almost call my attention. And then if you've seen the 6 individuals who are on this film, they have powerful stories. Some people say the stories are, terrifying or sad or disturbing. For me, all of the stories represented some kind of hope. And I really just thought it was this beautiful moment, this beautiful night. I edited it that night later in the hotel room. And this is, before I really knew John. And I didn't release it for years because I just didn't really think I know what I was doing. And then ended up filming with John, of course, after many, many, many more awkward days. He was, in a sense, I guess, vetting me to see if he wanted to share anything with me. And then, the rest is history. Then, I got kind of deep in with John and it all went from there. But Las Vegas is this kind of, to me, this very personal gem. It's the embarking on this journey that I had as a filmmaker. Because before I was not a filmmaker, I was a jiu-jitsu fighter. I was a martial athlete. I was an instructor of martial arts. None of this has to do with that, except for maybe the mentality of the interviews.
It's almost John Waters-ish.
Nice.
Right? You understand? I mean, it's a collection of characters.
Yeah.
And the thing is as each one starts to open up, you can tell that these are not, and I want to say this in the right way. It's not a reflection on you. It's called life in general, where society doesn't pay these people attention, right? And here you are with your camera, and they are ready to go, man. They're ready to talk and tell their story, and it's an extraordinary piece of work. It's just so well done.
Thank you. Yeah, and what's interesting about it is, I mean, yeah, the individuals that came forward, they're the people that you often walk by.
Yes.
When you walk on the Strip. I mean, these aren't people just going to Vegas to party for a week. These are people that live there. They make their living on the Strip, either panhandling or performing. So each individual that you see, it's people you could just walk by and not notice. Even the Elvis, that stands still there in Vegas, that's in a shot, but particularly there's, Drea and, gosh, what was his name? I'm blanking on it now. But the two kids that were sitting on the bridge and actually mentioned UFOs.
Right. And the Illuminati and the New World Order. Yeah, that was crazy.
And then, his story was so powerful. He essentially was defending his mother and shot a guy 6 times.
Well, how about her? She crashed the semi-truck, flipped it over.
Yeah.
Dude dies. She walks away. I mean, it's just... Wow. Just powerful
story. And it was scored by this amazing, kind of a musician, Oliver Lewis. I have to give him credit. He's really given me music for a lot of my films, as has, other great artists. So with the music too, it's really, I think, a visual, experience. And that's what I hope. So crank up your computer screens, your Apple TV, and take a look.
Yeah, everybody, extraordinarybeliefs.com. Just go and you can check everything out there. And we're going to be talking about a lot of these films tonight too as well. I want to back up a little bit. At Contact in the Desert, you and I managed to not bump into each other, which was crazy because it was like, I'm going to tell you what happened. Like at least 5 times, somebody came up to me and said, "Hey man, did you see Jeremy? He's right there." And I turned around and you were gone. And I don't know how that didn't happen, but we didn't get a chance to talk. But did you, because of your film, The Summoning, it reminded me of what went down at Contact. Were you witness to any of those events in the sky that weekend?
No, I'm like that guy that always has his back turned, at the most inopportune times when it comes to seeing the extraordinary things in the sky themselves. So I actually have a ranch out in Pioneer Town, California, and I spend a lot of my time out here editing. I mean, I barely have cell phone service or internet. I'm completely off grid. I won't get calls come through sometimes for days. So it kind of sounds like my wife when you say you can't find me. It happens out here. But this is a majestic place. So at Contact, I know that there was an experience that people had of seeing lights in the sky that apparently were pretty extraordinary. Now, we do have a military base just north of where that event was. And I find it interesting because I have also seen a number of military operations out here. I have night vision, sit under the stars. You see the Milky Way like you've never seen before.
Right.
That's kind of my daily life when I'm out here. So even with my night vision, looking at the sky, I have seen some really extraordinary things in the sky out here since I've been having time living on my ranch out here, about 1.5 years. So there are some phenomenon going around in the sky out here. I heard that at Contact there was a cool one, but, I really didn't look into it, didn't think much about it, maybe the military base, who knows. Then I got a call, and I got a call from a friend of mine who I respect. And they said, "Man, I didn't see what everybody else saw, But on the night they were screening Contact, the movie, I think, or something like that.
I was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he said he was outside of that screening. And he says he knows what people saw, heard what people saw originally. But he said it was him and one other friend. And he said what they saw was even more wild. And he's a veteran of saying, that's a plane, that's a normal movement, that's a satellite. And he was really taken aback. I mean, it's the first time that he has ever kind of called me kind of like a believer. So I don't know. It wasn't the main event that people saw, but sure enough, in the sky at Contact, there were anomalous phenomenon.
I don't know how to explain it. I told I came clean not only on this show, but when I hosted Coast to Coast right after that, the week after, and I went on Coast and I spent an hour explaining exactly what I saw, and I don't know, man. It was one of those things, and it was Friday night, right after the George Norrie birthday party, and Rita gets a text on her phone, UFOs in the sky right now. So we blew out the George Norrie party, and we went down to this cliff. And you know how Josh, the layout is there, and the main road that goes through the retreat center down at the bottom of the hill, at the bottom of the steps. At the end of that road, it ends at a cliff, and it's called Orion's Lookout. And so we head out, and Melinda Leslie's doing a night vision thing out there. And there's 150, 200 people that were on the edge of this cliff, and it was dark. And I stepped up, Jeremy. I've told this to the audience, is like, man, church, we can't hear this one more time. But I'll say this. I stepped up, and I looked straight up in the sky at like 12 noon, right? I just tilted my head back. I was there for 10 seconds. And what I thought, just like you said, the Milky Way, and it's extraordinary and it's beautiful. And straight up, as I leaned my head back, I'm looking at, a planet or a bright star, and it moves, right? I'm looking at it, and the star goes from left to right. It moves like a foot in the sky, whatever that is, whatever. And I'm like, what the hell? What? Right? And it poofs, it disappears. I'm like, oh, come on. And I've never seen anything like that. And then I get night vision, and I go back to that same spot, and I'm looking, and I see it go from right to left in night vision. I can't see it with my naked eye this time like I did the first time, and then it disappears again. I'm like, wait, what, man? Oh, somebody stop the bus here. You don't see planets move and disappear, and that was pretty trippy. And then the big stuff started, and off to my left, this green ball. Now, that area like the back of your hand. So yeah. Going north, okay, we're facing, I guess that would be east out over the valley, right? And we're on this cliff. And so to the north, to my left, this green chrome ball all the way out to where the mountains are. So it's like 2 miles, 3 miles away. This giant green chrome Christmas ball. That's the only way I can describe it. Took about 5 minutes, but it just took off, up, out, and stopped way out in the atmosphere after 5 minutes. It's outside of, it's just gone. It's just a little pinprick now. And then it stops and then turns left and shoots off into space. And
that's extraordinary.
I saw this with my own eyeballs, man. And yeah. I don't know how to explain. I don't. I really, really don't. And with 29 Palms being out there, why they didn't scramble jets, why there wasn't, any concern from the Marine base about all this stuff that was going on, because it was like on demand.
Yeah, those are non-traditional, kind of flight patterns. I will tell you, I rarely talk about it personally because there's not much I can say. I have seen a variety of unique aerial phenomenon. in this area, in particular, more than I ever have anywhere else in my life. And even the green things you're talking about, I've seen those on my property.
Yeah,
I don't know.
What's going on with it? What do you think ultimately is going on here?
I mean, that's the big question. The basic summary that I can put forward at this time is that, the UFO experience is some sort of presentation by a larger phenomenon or intelligence. It appears that this phenomenon that we call UFO, lights in the sky, that they tend to react in some way to human consciousness and desire. Not always, but often. And that is one of the things that my friend who called me about his experience out of contact said, I know this sounds crazy. I said, try me.
Yeah, right.
And he said it really seemed to react to the thoughts that I had. And, this is something that is very common. People tend to be comfortable reporting lights in the sky, UFO experiences. But the more you get into questioning people who have had these, let's say, closer encounters, right, you tend to find out that there's a lot more to the story than just lights in the sky. There's often some sort of consciousness aspect, mental aspect, some sort of change, other than just seeing something extraordinary you can't explain. So do we know what these are? No. Can we call them extraterrestrial vehicles? Certainly not. Can we even say they're extraterrestrial? I would say certainly not. All we know is there is a phenomenon. It is intelligent. It has an intelligence. It is an intelligence. And it often displays itself in the stovepipe of technology, as they say in the military,
right,
as UFOs.
And what I find strange is when people ask, look, I don't want to be the crazy guy that calls my show, right? But I am now, right? So now I'm in the other category. But when I have been asked, what was it that you saw? I don't know if it's us with crazy technology that we're not sharing with the masses, right? It could be that. Is it us using some kind of alien technology? It could be that. Is it alien? Is it ET, here, and we're not doing anything about it? It could be that too. I just don't know what I saw. I don't. I have no.
Well, I mean
way.
that's good that you admit that, because what happens when a human being has an extraordinary experience and they cannot classify it. They don't know where to put it inside of their consciousness or outside to the world. I mean, just last week, I had a neighbor of mine out here in this rural area telling me a story she had never told her kids before. And people tuck that away because they don't know how to handle these experiences that are so profoundly world-changing.
Right.
And then the negative response, and we see this all the time. If somebody has like an abductive experience or what they perceive as to be an abductive experience, oftentimes they just go off the deep end. They just start making stuff up. And then they try to do that. It's a very human reaction to essentially try to classify what you experienced in a way that is good for you, that feels good for you, and that makes sense. And this is the signal to noise. There's a difference between saying, I saw something, I don't know what it was, and the difference is pretending to believe like you do know what it is.
Exactly. Our guest tonight, so well put. Our guest tonight, Jeremy Corbell. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. This is night one of 2 straight weeks of pure UFO on Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Follow Jeremy at Jeremy Corbell. It's Fade to Black. More Jeremy right after this short break. Stay with us, everybody.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my
GMChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
Fadernauts. Things are never what they seem. For the past century, forbidden subjects such as UFOs, backward engineering, human abductions, secret space programs, underground bases, suppressed free energy devices, and other fantastic notions have tested the human mind, forcing it to decipher fact from fiction. Chronicling what he calls the alternative narrative, author Brad Olson gets down to the middle of it all in his best-selling book, Future Esoteric, now released in a second edition by CCC Publishing. And now, you can get Future Esoteric at a special price, plus another free book by just using the promo code Jimmy when you check out. Just click on the Future Esoteric or CCC Publishing banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Teppy. IRA and 401k account holders, are you crossing your fingers for the stock market to continue its bull run? Or hoping for a miracle to pay off our $19 trillion national debt? American Bullion wants you to think for a moment. If we go through another significant stock market correction and things begin to unravel, you could suffer some serious losses. On the other hand, gold is a proven long-term asset that could hedge and protect your retirement accounts from getting washed away. Call American Bullion now and let them show you how easy it is to transfer your existing IRA or roll over your 401k into a gold IRA. American Bullion has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and is a leader in gold IRAs. With just one call, their experts can explain everything there is to know and get you started with a free gold IRA guide. Call 1-800-545-2525. Don't procrastinate. Save your retirement. Call American Bullion now at 1-800-545-2525. That's 1-800-545-2525.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back to Fade to Black. 2 straight weeks of pure UFO coverage. Tonight, Jeremy Corbell is with us. Tomorrow night, Ruben Uriarte. Wednesday, Anthony Sanchez, fresh out of retirement. Next week, Tom DeLong, Linda Moulton-Howe. Very special guest that also we're going to announce in a couple of days. Jeremy, now you've had... the experiences with Lear and Lazar and Knapp and some of the best CIA questions ever. We're going to talk about that actually in a bit. That was extraordinary. You've had all of this direct information. What do you think ultimately that the government and those agencies are suppressing from us?
You know, that is another huge question that I think a lot of people are trying to answer in different ways. From my personal knowledge and experience, I mean, I was told point blank by the highest ranking military individual that I have ever met with that they wished that they had the technologies that they observe over our skies, that they do not. And that comes from a source, somebody who would know that, who had access to the highest level, technologies that we have as Americans. So that really shocked me.
And isn't that in direct contrast with Bob Lazar?
No, not that we don't have access to parts, but that we have mastered the technology, that we literally have the ability to fly anti-gravitic craft in a major way, that we can reproduce it. With the Lazar story, remember, he was tasked with an impossible task. He was asked to take alien, not however you classify the word, non-human technology, and he was asked to replicate it. The issue being, from the very beginning, was our material science in 1989. We didn't even have the nanotechnology that we have now to atomically layer almost perfectly. I mean, within a 3-degree radius, atoms. So we hadn't even created metamaterials that were unique at that point. We hadn't officially given element 115 its standing in the periodic chart.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, we may have toys, and I've been told we do, and I am confident. I actually don't have the luxury of disbelief that we don't have it. You know, we have technologies that are not from us. But the issue is, our material science alone, the accuracy with which these materials need to be machined in order to have the resonance frequencies and all the things that we figure they must in order to amplify gravity waves. Not only the power source, but the amplification process to distort space-time, which is the primary way it appears these craft move. It has to be. 90-degree turns at 100,000 miles an hour caught on radar, that requires an artificial gravity field. So it's kind of like a conflict. If it is true, if that information was true that I was told from a high-ranking military official, somebody that I trust, that we don't have it, that if it's big, it's silent, and it's floating, that it is not ours. If it's using any anti-gravitics, it is not ours.
As you listen to the way the government responds to all of this ET questions that are out there, the fact that they haven't said no, right? They've never stepped up and said, you know what, we're alone in the universe. No, there is no. Isn't that the same thing as saying, yes, we're hiding something from you?
I mean, unfortunately, it's not, just essentially denying something outright compared to just not commenting on it. I think people are afraid to do that. I think there's a lot of good people. I know that there's a lot of good people within the United States military, within the military system, within the scientific world that subcontracts for our military machine, that wish and believe that this information is bigger than them and should be put forward to the American public and the public at large. Then there are others, there's another camp, who believe the information is too terrifying. It is too devastating to our worldview. But I got to tell you, in my opinion, nobody's my daddy.
Right.
The United States government is not. I never asked for a daddy that wasn't my dad.
Right,
okay?
right.
So I'm, I as a human being have just as much a right to understand and to have access to the basic or fundamental information that not only are we not alone, but they are coming here, that we are being visited by non-humans of unknown origin, most likely. And, I believe we can handle that truth, and we should be told that truth. Now, of course, there is national security issues with all of this. That's why it was comical when Hillary Clinton went on Jimmy Kimmel and said, oh, yeah, I will release all the UFO files as long as it doesn't breach national security. Every single issue within the UFO phenomenon is a national security issue. When you have craft flying with impunity things that can outrun us, outfly us, shut down our nukes. These are all documented things. Documented. That is a problem for national security. So, of course, there is some information. They don't want people being able to figure out the power source and create, suitcase nukes in their backyard. So, of course, some of this information should be protected from the public. But the general and overall reality that we are not alone is something that I believe is a crime to keep from humanity. But it's a messy business, Jimmy. It's a messy business because they've been doing it for quite some time.
When you questioned the guys from the CIA that were doing their little ceremony thing, you can describe what that was more effectively. But I obviously they didn't expect you to stand up and ask the questions that you did. We can get into the specifics of it. But what I found interesting was the way that they whispered in each other's ears before they answered you.
Right.
Right?
Right. I mean, either he didn't hear the question, right, or he needed to kind of be explained what it is he's answering. And, I have to say, I have a great amount of respect for Mr. Petit, who is or was, the chief CIA technology officer at Area 51 for probably 4 decades. The man is an American hero. He is sharp, intelligent. My small interactions with him after that as well have been very positive. I think that he is a good person. I also think that he's a man who has taken an oath and that it is his job to keep certain things from the American public. And that's just the job that he has. So I fault him not for answering in very specific ways my specific questions. And also the chief historian of the CIA, Dr. Robarge. Again, I think he's a nice individual. I don't think he's malevolent in any way. I think he's towing a line of what he can and cannot say due to the oaths. I have not taken that oath. I don't need to be censored.
Did you pick up anything that they whispered? Did you hear any of that?
No.
Okay.
No, I think it was just getting very specific what I was asking so that, the answer could also be very specific. Although the answer, as you know, in that particular question was about S4, because in 1989, when George Knapp called Public Affairs and asked, do you have a subbase called S4 on the Nellis Range? The public affairs officer said, yes, we do. We actually have multiple S4. Can you tell me what they do there? No. And that was the beginning of us knowing there was an S4. Nobody had ever heard of an S4 before Bob Lazar. And then I independently have personally confirmed the existence of that exact S4 base at that exact location on Papoose Lake by 2 other specific individuals. And we also called back, just for the fun of it, George and myself, we called back and we talked to the public affairs officer, current day. And of course, when Knapp calls you as the lead investigative reporter in Nevada out of Las Vegas, you know who he is. So you have to think about your answer.
Right.
Took 24 hours. This guy calls back. I have all of this on film. And he left a voicemail. And it was the funniest answer ever. I memean, we're just trolling at this point to try to get more information to solicit stuff. And he says, he's almost laughing. He's like, Mr. Knapp, I was told to tell you that we do not have an S4 designated on any of our official maps. And that was the answer. So it's kind of like one of those great little dodges again. I mean, it's hilarious.
Took 24 hours to come back with that.
To come back, he had to ask. He had to ask how to answer this question, specifically. S4 it is a real location. It exists, just as Lazar described it. I am confident with that now in my investigations.
Yeah, that film clip of Pettit getting whispered to, right? And it wasn't his answer that I was concerned about. It was his face. That's
right.
what I was watching.
Look, it's a hard question to answer. After a little bit later, there was another individual there that did work at the base and kind of slipped up and said, sure, I knew about an S4. He was talking more, I think, about like kind of like an airplane hangar. They have multiple Site 4s out there, but the one in particular is the one at Papoose. That's the one that is most interesting to us because we know in 1989 and prior to 1989, maybe a little bit after, that it was highly active with these blue projects or non-terrestrial projects. So, look, it's a matter of belief until you've been convinced. And what convinces you is different than what's going to convince me. And once you have the experience, kind of like you had, where you've seen something for yourself, then you can then stand there and say, I am a convinced man. Other than that, people need to listen. They need to put the pieces of the puzzle together for themselves and develop their own opinions and develop their own understanding. You know, a lesson that is easily picked up, something that is easily put into your mind, is easily lost or taken out. So to find true resolve in the human spirit with an idea that will forever change your being, you need to solidify it. And that has to be done through work. That needs to be done on a personal basis.
What did you learn from Bob Lazar from sitting down and looking right into his eyeballs? What did you learn from that?
You know, I guess the first impression, you know, that I had was you could tell his hesitation at all. I mean, there was a lot going on before that camera ever flipped on. I mean, that was a chance moment right there. And I didn't plan for it. And it just happened. And, you know, he gifted me the ability to put a little bit on film. And even I have a lot on film. And I've only released a little bit because only what's important did I put out. And what I learned, I think, from initially meeting Bob is that he was hesitant to engage the topic because it has only brought him hell. It has terrorized his personal life. It has terrorized his business life. It has done nothing good for him. And so to see that in another man's eyes and to see their hesitation, and then to be gifted the ability to put a little bit of on film, you know, I mean, I later checked to make sure I could release it because that's respect. But that's what I learned. I learned that there's a man with really a profound personal experience, and he's telling the truth. And if we can accept the truth, that's on us. We can try to tear him apart with all the BS things that we try to put ahead of the most important one, you know, which is that he knew at Papoose Lake on Wednesday nights around 8 p.m. And he brought people out there that there would be a flying saucer.
With, oh man, oh, okay. My gates are tightened up tonight. That's an audio thing for you audiophiles out there. With Bob over the years, I've gone back and watched everything that he's done 50, 100 times. And what I have tried to do is catch him, right?
Sure, that's normal. Yeah.
Right. It's never happened. And at least with me personally, that's my vibe. Did you approach Bob the same way? Because, you know, obviously you know his background and you've done your research and everything. Were you looking for that aha moment as well?
Yeah, that's probably got to be really hard on Bob because who doesn't?
Right.
Who doesn't try to do that? You know, who doesn't play that scenario out through their head 1,000 times? And, you know, there was a big part of me that said, wow, great story, would love to believe it. But man, you know, I know Lear and I know his aptitude for messing with people. And, you know, there's a chance that somehow, you know, these guys put all this together and just propagated it over all these years. That illusion completely dissolved within the first 6 months of seeing these guys interact. I mean, you know, there I'd be sitting and, you know, Lear wouldn't even know that the camera's on. Not that I'm trying to do that, but the camera's rolling. He's having conversations on the phone. These guys could never conspire to this degree to keep their story straight and do this. What they said happened actually happened. And that became abundantly clear. But again, like you, at first I was just looking from the outside. seeing these guys and trying to find a loophole, but it became abundantly clear that, in fact, things went down just as they said. And we're going to be learning a lot more about that in the near future with Lazar. So hopefully there will be some vindication, just so at least his story is out there without being tainted by people trying to mess with what he said.
I had the same experience with Lear. The first time that I interviewed him, it's just it was the John Lear script, right? Okay, and he's just whatever. And after that interview, it's the same thing. He's feeling me out, right? And after the interview, we talk on the phone. He goes, "Okay, man, let's do this again." And I said, "Okay." And now, what is it that you would like me to talk about? It was a total test, and the second interview was magic. And I told him, Jeremy, I said, "Look, John, just be yourself, okay? You don't have to be the guy that you want, that people, don't be that guy. Let's just talk about you. Do people really want to know about me?" I said, "John, really? Okay." And he goes, "Okay, let's do it." And then that second one was 2.5 hours of letting it all hang out.
Yeah. That's it. It's really funny, there's so in one level, John really, you can see the glint in his eye, so there's an element of trickster to John. And again, John and I have fought over this. I mean, we're friends, but we get in arguments, and, I do not have evidence for the majority of what he says. Not that I wouldn't say the majority, for some of what he says.
Right.
So it's just not something that's in my database as something I rely on as being true. But, there are other things that he has brought me to, people he has brought into my life that have allowed me to see that there is truth. And I have sat in that room and I have seen intelligence officials and military people that go to him. And it's like he's a safe place to store their information, like very emotional, very powerful kind of personal testimonies. I have seen this with my own eyes, being there. I filmed some of it, where people tell him what they know and how it haunts them. So in a way, John might not realize that his open-mindedness, even Bob thinks he has a lack of filter, like he'll just believe what comes at him. But Lear has come to his conclusions through his own direct, personal, rational look at things. And again, I don't agree with all of them, but he's come to them through his experiences, which none of us have had. Only he has had his experiences. And, I also see this with Bob. I mean, it was really funny. We were talking at it was the International UFO Congress 2015, I believe.
Right.
And, it was George, and then George and Bob, and then me. Or it was me, and then George, and then Bob, something like that. And so we talked that day, and I had a few of these posters that I made, these cool, art images that say Lazar, that's for the film. And I was like, "Hey, Bob, can you sign some of these? I think people would really like it." And he's like, "Really? Like, I don't want to mess these up." It was almost unfathomable to him that people would care to have his signature on these posters. It was comical. It's like he doesn't understand the impact that he has had on my generation and generations that have come after me. I was just down at my mechanic's today with a nail in my tire. He sees my license plate, which is identifying, and he calls my car the UFO. So I come in and he says, "I wanted to talk with you. Back when I was a kid, I heard this guy talk once, and it completely just lit me up, and I've been interested in this subject. No one will talk with me about it because they think I'm crazy. I just live here in town." It was this guy named Bob Lazar. Have you ever heard about him?
Oh, right.
And I just pulled out one of the stickers from my car for the short film, and I handed it to him. And what that said to me is that this story, what happened to Bob and what he offered us out of self-defense to begin by telling this story, has impacted so many people on this earth. And that idea alone, that we have become curious, more curious because of his story, is powerful.
I have an email. You're going to laugh at this. I got an email from Bob once, and asking, to come on the show. And he shoots me this email. I'm not making this up. He says, okay, but what would I talk about? Right? I was like,
yeah.
Are you kidding me? Really?
Right.
And that's where his mindset is. And I think that says a lot about the man.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's told his story. He's gotten hell for it, from all four corners of the earth. And what, in his mind, what would he talk about? He's told his story. He would love for there to be out there, in his own words, the exact experiences. And I suspect that, we'll see that. But at this time, I don't know that he really feels to engage much more. I mean, he violently gets attacked through emails every day by people that want something from him or say, you owe it to us to say this, or you're lying. And, honestly, I would be so sick and tired of it. I would turn off that email. I would just turn off the phone and I would just ignore people.
Yeah.
You don't want that in your daily, everyday conscious life.
Your film, The Summoner, when we come back off of the break, I want to discuss this in detail, because that subject, and I know that you have your opinions now too that probably changed while you were making the film, but that idea, that concept of summoning ET craft was something that I always thought was a possibility, because I have an open mind on everything. But until I saw it actually happen in real time, in real life, now I watch not only your film, but people with these claims with a different set of eyes. You have to. And I want to talk about that when we come back. How did your opinion change on conscious contact with ET in making that film?
Yeah, well, so right now I've only released a trailer for that film, and the reason for that is because I am still confused by this experience. I really don't know what to tell people about what I've been able to capture on film and how it happened. It really threw me for a loop, and it continues to throw me for a loop. And there's much more to that story just in that little trailer, and actually why I haven't released it yet. I am baffled by what I've seemed to have experienced.
Yeah, it's a trippy thing, and like I said, when I went out there at Contact, now I didn't tell you about the second night. Okay, so the first night, we're going to hit a break here in 30 seconds, so I'll make this quick. But the that Friday night was the Saturday night was the big mass sighting. Sunday night, we had a party off campus. I won't disclose the location, but not that far. From the retreat center. And at this party, we had about 20 or 30 of the Fadernauts, right, of our family. And then we had Dolan, Richard Dolan's there, Mike Barra, David Wilcock, and Corey Good, Holly Cook, Lori McDonald, right? So Javier Sandoval. We had a collection of UFO researchers there. And Javier had night vision equipment. And that second night, that Sunday night, we had our sightings right there over Joshua Tree on Sunday night. And Lori McDonald is out there summoning these craft. And they showed up. It was I'm just like, man, I really need alcohol right now. I can't deal with this. It's an extraordinary thing to witness. So yeah, we'll talk about that right after the break. Our guest, Jeremy Corbell. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Night one, kicking it off of 2 straight weeks of pure UFO here on Fade to Black. More of Jeremy right after the break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRAradio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Foodforliberty.com sells high-quality, storable foods from New Manna. And right now, take advantage of our summer special. Purchase 2 family packs and we'll send you a Pro Pure Water Pitcher, a $70 value, free. This premium pitcher is ideal for use with just about any water source and removes more contaminants than other brands. And it comes with a filter that lasts up to 2 full years. Whether you need to be prepared in the event of an emergency, you're an outdoor sports enthusiast, New Manna is known for high-quality, great-tasting, GMO-free, super nutritious food with no chemical preservatives. And with a 25-year shelf life, you can't beat the feeling of being food secure when you need it most. Go to foodforliberty.com right now for great-tasting, high-quality, storable foods from New Manna. Buy 2 family packs and get the Pro Pure Water Pitcher free. It makes good sense to be prepared. Get it at foodforliberty.com.
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With a mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Jeremy Kenyon Lockyer Corbell. Kenyon Lockyer is in the middle because there's a lot of Jeremy Corbells out there, and he needs to separate himself from those imposters out there.
It's mainly because, for my jiu-jitsu career, if you type in my name, you get mainly jiu-jitsu videos, and using the 4 names distinguishes the filmmaking career a little bit. And it's a mouthful, but I appreciate it.
Yeah, I remember back in the day looking at your jiu-jitsu videos. I'm like, well, I'm going to be nice to Jeremy. I get this question in via email. I'd like to ask whether Jeremy's whistleblowers confess to him any remaining doubts they may have had about going public and giving their end of life of disclosures. E.g., were they at all concerned about any threats to their remaining family members or any possible repercussions such as financial, pensions, survivor benefits for what they were revealing to us through him?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the primary concern that people have, is for their own safety and those of their families. I have personally witnessed people coming forward with information and, they've taken the oath and their lives were ruined for it. Trying even to come forward, not being able to, and trying. And because I've personally seen that happen, I believe it is a real problem that these people should be protected like any whistleblower. This is such a hot button topic because of the national security and national defense issues that go with it. So, for example, concrete example, when I filmed with, as you know, my business partner for the Citizen Hearing, Ruben Langdon, the unsung hero of the Citizen Hearing, when we essentially went to go do the anonymous interview, which I directed, and basically got this information from this individual who Linda Howe had actually interviewed and gotten a lot of information, probably 20 years before. And the man was threatened. His family was threatened, and he stopped coming forward at that time with Linda Howe. And then, by happenstance, I didn't even know much about it, but I got thrown into this room with a man who, in his last days, decided to literally, against the desires of his wife, talk about this, because she was highly religious and thought what he had seen was demons. So because of her religious beliefs and the pressure on him to even sit there and tell us his story, he still wanted his face to be blacked out. And I said, look, even after his death, and I said, look, I can't show this at the Citizen Hearing if we can't show your face. And through some time and the days we spent there where Richard was able to do the on-camera interview with him, he finally allowed me. He said, okay, you can show my face. But it was not trivial for him. And even when people are in their elder years and maybe they know that they're dying, they still think about maybe not their finances, but their families. And so there are people that I have talked with, who have had access and who have told me their stories so that I would know them, so I would not be thrown off track on certain occasions. But they will never go public. They don't want to, in quotes, crack the egg on this subject. So that happens more than it does that people allow you to show their face. And then you get in a real tricky situation. A lot of what you see and hear out there on YouTube and people that seem credible, they are not. And they are making stuff up. And they are polluting the waters. And they're doing it for their own personal gain. And it's sad. And it's terrible for this field of study and investigation into the phenomenon.
Yeah, I don't understand the fabrication as well, because it's not like there's a whole lot of fame involved here. You're not going on Howard Stern or Rush Limbaugh, or CNN tomorrow. It's not that kind of fame. First off, it's very small. Second, there's nothing financial to gain. So why turn around and pollute this unless they're part of some type of disinfo, and I'm very open to that aspect of it.
Well, there is, we know for a fact that there is that aspect to it, that the UFO phenomenon was supposed to be demystified, in their own words, by the FBI, and that essentially this disinformation and this mockery of this subject, which we're getting over in the 21st century, is something that was intentionally fabricated using words like conspiracy theorist and stuff like that. There's nothing conspiracy theorist about, hard-hitting radar reports of 1.5 mile wide craft that we do have. This is an intentional aspect, the disinformation aspect. But I'd have to say, usually, more often than that, it is people seeking the smallest amount of extraordinary attention. And it's sad, but it's very human. And so you need to be able to cut through the BS. Have a strong BS meter and do your best.
How do you develop that, by the way, the BS meter?
Yeah, I mean, I think some people, it's like anything. You can be predisposed to just wanting to believe things, or you can be predisposed to being an absolute hard-headed critic of anything outside of your own scope of reality. Kind of like one of my best friends out here in Pioneer Town, named Danny. He's a gentleman where, you could show him a UFO and then he would not believe it. He might be an alien himself. I don't know. But, some people are just born like that. They're not, or he's messing with me. You don't want to believe it. So you get these two camps. You get the fervent believers, and then you get the people that are just, like Dr. Mitchell said to me when I interviewed him for a few days. Actually, I think I have the last interview of him before he passed away. That's going to be another film called Mr. Moonwalker. He said, you can't shoot a bad idea out of somebody's head. So you've got these two camps of people that just will or won't believe anything and everything. And then, like a muscle, you have to learn to build it. You need to look for the evidence. You need to spend time with people. You need to look at their motivations. You need to fact check and do your best to try and discern what is real, what is not real, who is lying, who is not. And ultimately, I'm just reporting the news. I'm just bringing you other people's stories. And I'm trying my best prior to that to weed out the frauds from the people who are telling actual events. And look, like Bob Lazar, he did a polygraph test, multiple polygraph tests, and he was able to pass, and even how emotional these situations were for him. And, those kinds of things help to lead credibility to what somebody is saying.
When we have Bill, on Kimmel, we've got Barack on Kimmel and Ellen, and of course Hillary, and then Hillary's thing that she did at the newspaper in New Hampshire, all within a year. And I can only imagine, you, Jeremy, sitting back with your eyes squinted, going, "Okay, what's going on?" And what's the answer to that? What do you think is really going on with all of this alien conversation going on in the mass media?
Well, I find it very interesting. Understand, I am of the opinion that hell will freeze over before there is big D disclosure.
Right.
The government can't disclose anything because they don't know everything. And then additionally, if these visitors, which there are visitors, if they wanted to disclose themselves, they would disclose themselves. So more than disclosure, there's probably what we're looking at is some sort of acknowledgement. Now, I don't think that it is orchestrated in the way that people might believe. I think that there are individuals who have more interest or less interest in this subject and want the information out. And a concrete example is, of course, we know Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton have always had an interest in this subject. We also know that through the Rockefeller Initiative that Lawrence Rockefeller tried to bring Bill up to speed, under threat, up to speed on essentially what he believed was going on and what he wanted to reveal to the world. Now, Hillary was the only one that heard that direct information from Lawrence Rockefeller. Bill did not personally, he was on another part of the ranch at the time, probably for political reasons. But he did, however, when he first entered office through Webster Hubbell, he tried to get information on both the Kennedy assassination, which of course I would want to as well if I was a president coming in and I thought the CIA might have knocked off a president.
Right.
And then also, about the reality of UFOs. Now, there's two sides to the coin of intelligence, right? One is clearance. It was baffling to me to learn that the president of the United States, the commander in chief, does not necessarily have clearance to some of the special access programs and what we're doing. Think about when President Kennedy took responsibility for the Bay of Pigs, yet did not know about the Bay of Pigs incident prior. This pissed him off. This is why he was trying to shut down elements of the CIA. So then the other side to the coin of intelligence, other than having the right clearance, is very simple to dismiss, and that's need to know. And the Clintons were kind of explained as the highest security threat, Bill Clinton, of any president that has ever stood before, meaning he has a big mouth. So clearly they're not going to give him a lot of the information because he just does not have a need to know. And that blew me away. So what we're seeing now with Hillary Clinton going on Jimmy Kimmel and, correcting Jimmy Kimmel by saying, actually, Jimmy.
Right, the UAP.
We call them now UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomenon. And that's interesting because UFO, if you search that, you're not going to get much anymore. But if you search through UAP, maybe you will. But essentially, you have to think about who came on to her campaign. And I think we're both very aware that leaving office, that Podesta basically said the number one thing when he was leaving the Obama camp, the number one thing that I regret, and he tweeted this to the official White House Twitter, is that, we were not able to disclose UFO files. Then he moves over to the Hillary camp and starts mocking journalists, basically saying, ask her about UFOs, ask her about aliens. So clearly in the campaign, he wants that to be an issue. Now, why does he want it to be an issue? Podesta is a man who believes in transparency of government. It's not that he has any specific information about UFOs. It's that he believes in transparency. So you're getting individual people that are making an impact in social media and in big time media because they have personal interest. I don't think it's an organized attempt for disclosure, definitely not, or even acknowledgement. But it is exciting. I like it when UFOs are in the news.
Yeah, I don't know what the agenda is. You know, certainly with things like Kimmel and Ellen, you know, those are premeditated questions that are written way in advance, you know, and the answers are there.
Oh, yeah. Jimmy asked everybody. He asked President Obama. He asked Hillary Clinton. He asked Bill Clinton. I mean, that's one of his questions that he prepares for them because he, too, personally has an interest in the UFO phenomenon, which, again, is a smokescreen. It's one aspect of a much larger phenomenon.
See, like I said, your eyes are squinted. Yeah, I I dig it. Now, let's go to your film, The Summoner. What is it that you saw, not only with The Summoners, but you've made the comment that you captured all of this on film, too, as well. What happened?
Yeah, this was so bizarre that I literally have not put the film out because I don't know what to say about it. And I think I'm going to get over that. But I tend to sit on things for a while before I release them. You know, we have an individual who contacted me because somehow my name was put on the news because of a piece of footage that I actually filmed. And I called it the Silver Surfer. I pointed my iPhone up into the sky in Santa Monica. I was walking with my wife. We look up. We see this extraordinary thing in the sky. Look like the Silver Surfer, like the cartoon, like these shimmering lines, like surfing through the air. And I was like, wow. And I actually caught it on film. So I recorded it, said, other people got to see this. We got to figure out what this is. I put out the APB. Somehow, you know, the news picks it up. And there were a lot of people that saw it. And then they bring Bill Nye the Science Guy onto television. And there's my footage behind him. And Bill Nye the Science Guy, who I respect, grew up kind of, you know, looking at Bill Nye the Science Guy on television, saying that I superimposed brine shrimp into my iPhone footage. Brine shrimp, for those who don't know, are sea monkeys. So I guess sea monkeys are the new swamp gas. I mean, I have no words to express what that felt like because I wasn't saying what it was. I was asking, did anybody else see this? So that put me on a rampage. And I spent just weeks, finding every piece of footage. I started a little kind of chat room kind of to find people who had footage. And I collected about 6 different angles of this phenomenon that I had seen and experienced. And it took a couple weeks, but I finally found out what it was. And I contacted the individual who was on the Red Bull skydiving team with flares on his ankles, and I got his head cam footage of the jump into Santa Monica. Mystery solved. But of course, the news is not as interested in that, nor was Bill Nye. You know, so I debunked my own first kind of UFO case, unidentified flying object. Next day, I get a message through YouTube or something. It was very bizarre to me to get a message through YouTube. And it's a guy. And he says, hi, I can summon UFOs. It's changed my life. I was a
last night, several of our viewers
homeless heroin addict.
Sorry about that. I was just, I clicked on your Bill Nye video.
Oh, you saw that? Yeah.
It was on autoplay, and that's what that was. But
it's hilarious. I mean, there's Bill Nye saying that I superimposed brine shrimp into my footage. I mean, how knuckleheaded can you be? And anyway, so I solved the riddle, but the news just liked there was a UFO thing. They never followed up with it, even when I told them. But what was really interesting, what happened is this guy writes me and he says, I can summon UFOs. And I just kind of put my hand on my head and I'm like, oh God, no, not this. And he says, you know, but look, it stopped me from my heroin addiction. It changed my life. I was homeless and now I'm not. And it really changed me. Do you want to see? And I turned to my wife. I'm like, I can't do this. This can't be real. This is ridiculous. I've never heard anything like this before. If I had, thought it was fraud. She goes, well, ask him where he lives. And I said, well, where do you live? Santa Monica. Oh, man. So now I got to do it, right?
Right.
Now I got to do it. So I write him back. I'm like, okay, I'm going to set the time and location. I meet the guy, super genuine, nice guy. I mean, incredible. I've come to know him as a good friend. And, sure enough, we choose a location. I waited out, changed the time, changed the location, middle of the day. We're standing in Santa Monica by the promenade. I take him all the way up to this car garage. Now we're way off schedule, which is exactly what I wanted. Way off location, right?
Yeah, no balloons, nothing. Yeah.
You can see everywhere. You see planes. You see everything.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, go ahead. And I barely had the time to turn on the camera. Of course, I didn't even have a lens for this. I just had a 24-70, kind of portrait lens. I'm filming him doing this summoning. And all of a sudden, his finger shoots up to the sky before his eyes. And he goes, they're here. And I'm like, okay. And I kind of turn. And you can see my complete, BS, right? And I'm standing there. And I jump into frame because I can't see it. And I lower my eyes right where he's pointing. And all of a sudden, it just, I just saw it. And it was unlike anything I have ever seen before, even to date. Broad daylight, noon, luminous, fast moving. And it took my eyes a second to adjust to be able to see it. And then it was clear as day. And it really shocked me. I said,
what did you see?
Well, really, Jimmy, it was like a point of light, but it was very bright and luminous, and it was moving at a horrific speed. I mean, it was just tearing across the entire sky faster than anything I have ever seen. And it just continued on its way. But at the time that he said, you would see it. And then, of course, we're looking for hours after, nothing. Okay, that's one experience. I come home. I'm like, I don't know what to say. I tell my wife, I don't know what to say. We saw something. I don't know what it was, but it was shockingly different than anything I've ever seen before.
Yeah, was she classic? Did she go, okay, what did you see?
Yeah, she's my biggest skeptic. I mean, you want a reality show. It's the way that she knows more about this than I do now from seeing all this. But yeah, I mean, she listened to me. She's like, well, that's cool. Maybe it was a one-off. And over the years, I started to say, okay, well, you've got my attention now. Let's see if it happens again. Again and again and again. I have footage of this, and I actually got a special lens to be able to try to get closer on these things. I have airplanes passing by them. They're not there in the sky. Then they are there in the sky. And my friends are laughing at me, making fun of me. I mean, don't believe it. I don't know what. My friends make this joke. Maybe you're summoning, quinceañera balloons from a party in downtown. And if you can do that, you can make a living, man. They're joking about what this is. But I have looked at all satellite trajectories, all weather balloon experiments. I know more about this now than I should.
Right.
I have no explanation for what these things are. The majority of what people see, though, are balloons. I have been to these kind of summoning parties.
Yes.
And I've taken a really good camera. And what they're pointing at and thinking is a UFO is actually a Mylar balloon. So you get this problem. And this problem is we just don't know what it is. Yet this individual seems to be very accurate. And I would say about 75% of the time when he does one of these summonings, something is not in the sky, then it is. And they're like points or balls of light. And then we've had a couple more wild experiences. One of my friends was highly religious and he's Jewish, and he started kind of saying, oh, this is BS. And there I am at Lear's house. And I'm talking with Lear, and I'm filming with him. And I just get this sense, pick up your phone. And I go into my pocket. It's silenced. There's no buzz. And there's my buddy, Mike. And I open the phone while the camera's running. And there I am with Lear. And Mike had never talked with Lear. And I said, okay, Mike, I'm filming. Thanks for interrupting. You're on speaker with John Lear. What do you got to say? And he says, I just stood there and asked to see. And all of a sudden, there's an object, and he's screaming. He's seeing it in the sky. I hear people in the background. You can hear it in the film. Walking by him, saying, what are you looking at? And then it takes them a second. They start kind of screaming, what is that? What is that? Everybody's kind of curious what this is. And then there's Lear, and he just looks at me and goes, Mikey, this is John. Nice to meet you. Tell them to come to see John Lear in Vegas. They know where I live. and I thought he was joking. And then he jumps up out of his chair, which is hard for him because of his legs.
No.
And he shuffles outside to look up and look for him. I mean, that's when I knew John really believed that he wasn't pulling my leg. He really does believe. And so in summary, this movie, The Summoner, that, you know, I have available it's not available right now, but the trailer is. It is a absolute Alice in Wonderland, I mean, Twilight Zone of, I have no idea what's going on here, but it appears that at least balloons, if not lights in the sky, somehow react to the consciousness of the people that are asking to see them.
Yeah, I don't get it. You know, I don't. So we're out at Contact, and Laurie McDonald, who I dearly love. You know, she just, her feet are on the ground. You know, I mean, she's just such a cool person. And she goes, no, they're attracted to me. I can make this happen. I was like, okay, you know, yeah, whatever, right? And, okay. And she walks out and she looks up in the sky and she goes, right there, right? It's a dark sky. And she points, hits this laser, boop, boop. And we're standing there. And, man, Jeremy, on cue, boop, boop, right? Signaled back in the middle of the dark sky. I mean, what? And it was bright too. I just don't know what to make of it. I don't either, man. I don't.
Yeah, and we're sitting here talking about it. I mean, you know how many people have had these experiences? I mean, I have not found a single person on this earth. If they haven't had an experience, they know somebody who has a profound one. So this is something that has been happening since antiquity. This is something that is in every religious text, every painting, you know, from back in time, from cave paintings. There are objects of unknown origin which seem to defy our known physics that are traversing our skies with impunity and at some times even implementing plans and somehow altering the course of human history and individual history, the individuals that have close encounters. And, you know, we can guess all day, Jimmy, like what it is. And honestly, I don't know. But what I'm interested in is trying to find out as much as I can. And look, I cannot, like Bob Lazar says, look, it is, my field is science. And it is my duty as a scientist to prove to you with reproducible results and evidence what it is that I'm telling you. And he says, I cannot do that, unfortunately, with this story that I've told the world. It is your duty not to believe me until I can. And in fact, pass it along.
Right.
If you don't believe me. And so I approach things not, I wouldn't say, you know, I'm not coarse about it. I listen to everybody's story. But most stories I cannot hold on to because there's nothing I can do to move the needle forward. But there are some that I can. And those are the ones that I focus in on, not to diminish anybody else's experiences. But we have a lot of quacks and a lot of megalomaniacs and a lot of total BSers in this field. You've seen it for your eyes now, Jimmy. I've seen what I've seen. Nothing glorious yet. Nothing close encounter, but enough to hold my attention. Now, in other realms, I've learned information where I no longer have the luxury of disbelief. And that is essentially where I'm coming from. I know there's truth to it. Exactly what, I don't know. But I'm willing to find out and put the time in.
When we come back, we're going to hit our break right here. When we come back, we're going to talk Nano Man. And if you're not familiar with it, go and watch the movie after the show tonight. Just go and do it. Go to extraordinarybeliefs.com. But we're going to talk about Nano Man. Nano Man changed me. Wait till you hear this. More with Jeremy Corbell right after the break. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Are you tired of brown rust stains on your toilets, sinks, and clothes? Does your water smell and taste bad? Don't live with these problems anymore. Hydrocare's revolutionary well water systems, available at Wave Home Solutions, gives you clean, healthy, great-tasting water from every faucet. They remove iron, hydrogen sulfide, sediment, and many other contaminants that are distasteful and damaging your fixtures. You'll be amazed how fresh and clean well water can be. Satisfaction guaranteed. Go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Fate or not, things are never what they seem. For the past century, forbidden subjects such as UFOs, backward engineering, human abductions, secret space programs, underground bases, suppressed free energy devices, and other fantastic notions have tested the human mind, forcing it to decipher fact from fiction. Chronicling what he calls the alternative narrative, author Brad Olson gets down to the middle of it all in his best-selling book, Future Esoteric, now released in a second edition by CCC Publishing. And now, you can get Future Esoteric at a special price, plus another free book by just using the promo code Jimmy when you check out. Just click on the Future Esoteric or CCC Publishing banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Teppy. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Teppy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Jeremy Lockyer Corbell is with us. I want to remind everybody, this is night one of 2 weeks of straight, pure UFO coverage. Tomorrow night, Ruben Uriarte is here. Wednesday night, Anthony Sanchez. Next week, we have Tom DeLonge and Linda Moulton Howe. But tonight, it's Jeremy Corbell. And Jeremy, I kind of wanted to save the best for last. And what's interesting here is, how do you top, John Lear and Bob Lazar and all of your other extraordinary films? I got to tell you, man, when I watched Nano Man, I thought to myself, this is like the greatest thing I've ever seen. This is my kind of stuff. It's nearly perfect. How did this thing come together?
Yeah, the Nano Man experience was really bizarre how it happened. It was through a military contact of mine that I really trust, and they said, hey, you got to take a look at the propulsion device, because I know that's your initial fascination, that this guy is doing, because it's something that, our Navy and our military is interested in enough to take a look at it. So I jumped on the opportunity and I went out there and I started filming a man that I called Nano Man until he decided it was okay to say his name. And his name is Chris Cooper. And what's interesting about Chris is, again, I started with what he called the space drive. It is a propulsion device. It's a really simple proof of concept, at least, in the research and development phase. Essentially, he uses metamaterials, which again are, in this case, atomically layered, I don't want to tell exactly what it is, but it's atomically layered substance that, we've only been able to create over the last maybe 5-7 years, white world. And essentially, he found there are some strange physics principles that apply when you get these kind of atomic layered perfect pieces of metal or graphene or whatever you're using. And he put them in like a paddle wheel in a vacuum. It's essentially like, a paddle wheel. And he was baffled at the idea that he was getting forward thrust in a vacuum with nothing apparently, pushing out the back of it. So as a nanophysicist, I mean, he was trying to figure out, well, where is the equal and opposite force? Where is that energy going? And, that's when it gets really wild, is trying to figure out if indeed this device is pushing forward, which I got to tell you, he's the first to shoot down his experiments. I mean, I have seen him just shred projects apart and be like, nope, didn't work. He doesn't hold on to it. He kicks down the sandcastle and builds another one. So I started with the propulsion aspect in looking at the work of my friend Chris Cooper, Nano Man. And that's the first film that I made available. All through my website, you can get it there. But as we went forward, I said, well, what really motivates you? Why do you think that you, out of anybody, will be able to create not only this propulsion device, but also how are you going to fuel the propulsion device? And how do you think you're going to be able to take people to the stars? Like, where did this come from in your mind? Because remember, he's also working on, and I have not released this film yet, low energy nuclear reactions, which is basically cold fusion, the idea of cold fusion. And he's working with some of the old timers. I've been able to film with people that worked at like Lawrence Livermore and Los Alamos and down in Alamogordo by White Sands as well. Just people that were involved in these projects as subcontractors for the military, old school cold fusion dudes. And his theory was he was going to be able to crack that and try to figure out how his device is pushing forward with a little bit of electricity. And then he says to me, well, the reason I know that this is possible and it drives me is because he said, I know for a fact that extraterrestrials are real and they have been visiting here. And if they can do it, it's physically possible for us to do it. And it was like record scratch.
Right, right.
That's not why I started filming with him. And then we got into that. And we started getting deeper into that. And I wanted to know, well, what did he mean? What experiences did he have? And, it turns out he's had a fascination for a long time, has collected over 128 different kinds of samples of different things that he think could lead him towards an understanding. And that leads us to to the film Utility Fog, where he basically said to me, well, I've got some samples of what I believe to be nanomachines, microscopic, tiny machines that are an alloy that essentially work in unison as a whole. And he says you typically find these in, you'd say high activity sites, landing sites, abduction sites, but there are residues. As we all know, there's great research on this strange alloys and residues. So
now, record scratch right here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And this went on over time with you. I got to ask you directly, man. Was this the surreal pillow rabbit hole alternate universe? Was your mind going into places that were you starting to question yourself and your own judgment because it was spinning out of control at this point?
Oh, I was sure he was messing with me. I mean, when he first said it to me, I was sure he was messing with me. He found out I'm into this like UFO stuff. Oh, he's going to mess with me or something. But he's like the most honest guy I've ever met. The dude just like is so straightforward. very innocent in a way as a scientist. So yeah, I kind of thought he was joking at first. You can hear me kind of laugh, in these other clips that I haven't released, where I'm like, really? So he basically tells me his theory, and he shows me these images from one of the many scanning electron microscopy sessions he did on these on these substances. And I wasn't seeing what he was seeing necessarily, because everything looks cool under high magnification. But he says, look, I'll give you a vial of it and you can take it and see what the nanotech guys at NASA think. And I go,
now when you that was a point in the film, it's put up or shut up, right? And he holds up the vial and hands it to you, and he says, okay, man, here it is. Go check it out for yourself. What were you thinking? Because I know you looked at it, right? I'm looking at it in the video, in the film. What did you think? Did you think it was empty?
I literally thought he was messing with me.
Right.
I thought that he had looked me up on the internet and I don't want anything to do with this guy now. He's into UFOs. And, it's interesting. We did have conversations before. There was this really tense moment. We had tried to meet a couple times, and sheer coincidence, the military individuals that connected me with him that were involved with him, right, and his endeavors. They came to me, and they were going to go meet with a friend of mine in LA who is let's say a tech genius. He's one of these guys that's really deeply embedded into the technology world to a very high degree, meaning, people on his board or in the Department of Defense, that kind of thing.
Right.
And they're supposed to be having a meeting as a liaison for the company. When they found out that this guy that I had gone to high school with and that I knew him, everybody threw on the brakes, from the Nano Man side, because this was too weird. How does Jeremy know both these camps, and what is he up to? They literally thought that I was somehow trying to infiltrate his scientific project, which is freaking laughable. But it did happen. This experience happened. So we had this very strange relationship at first. We were not allowed to talk with each other. So it was okay. So then I start filming him, and maybe I think he looked me up, or maybe he just wanted to mess with me. So he hands me this vial, and it looks like water. And he goes, it's ethanol, you idiot. It's not water, it's ethanol. And he goes, look, this is basically 9 years ago I did this. He said, this stuff is deceptive. I've seen it in the tube one time under the microscope and then just not there the next time. He's like, I don't know what you're going to find, but if you can, good on you, go for it. And I said, well, how am I supposed to get into NASA and have nanotechnologists analyze this material? I don't have those kinds of connections, Chris, And he goes, I can set that up. And I was like, okay, because it's expensive, right? So I'm trying to see how far he's going to take this. He gives me the vial. I fly on an airplane with it after 9/11. I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I have? I don't even know what I have in my pocket,
Right.
I don't know what I have in my pocket. And sure enough, I get a call from a technician from NASA who says, I've gotten you access. You have a full media pass. You have a non-restricted, no escort access. And you can come, and we will spend an entire day on the scope. And, Foothill College will pay for it at NASA Ames.
And just so the audience knows, it's all in the film, and you've got to. It's a crazy thing to witness. I mean,
it really was, and it is all in the film. I mean, I'm describing the film right now, but to see it is another thing. And
right.
And look, I mean, you're asking me personally, Jimmy. I didn't know that if we were going to find anything, because you already said there was an out. That this stuff is weird. Maybe it's there, maybe it's not. So I'm thinking, well, it's fun. I'll document it. So there we are all day on the scanning electron microscope, and we're not seeing it. I cut it down as a short film. I mean, we're talking hours upon hours not seeing it. We're seeing clusters of a metal. We did, basically analysis to see that it is an alloy. It had some rare elements in it, but it was just an alloy. And then we call up Chris, and you see this in the film, and I'm like, hey man, we're just not seeing exactly what you saw. We're seeing clusters, but we're not getting the exact look of what you saw. Because my only goal is to replicate his findings. Step one, right? Call BS on the guy.
Right.
And he goes, oh, well, you need to change your beam parameters. And he just tells us what to change the beam parameters to. And then this experienced technician at NASA looking at nanotech stuff, it's like it came onto the screen just all of a sudden clearly. We were able to replicate identically what he was able to image 9 or 10 years prior. It was amazing. So the nanotech guy just puts his hand on his head. I mean, at the end of the film, you see him saying, look, we cannot make this today. The voids, the uniform holes, they're so small, even on the nano scale. We cannot mill those, even with atomic milling and all this, to make so many in perfection. We know this is a fabricated material as far as we can tell. Secondarily, we cannot do this. He said, one day we will be able to do this, but today we cannot do this. Not Black Project, anything we've ever seen can we do this. So it brings a really important question to the surface. And it's not only what the hell is this stuff, but it's, it's bigger than that. Like, if indeed this stuff is fabricated and it's something we can't do today, then what is this all about? Where does this come from? Why at landing sites are there residues? What does this have to do with the UFO phenomenon? Now, again, I'm open to the idea that I imaged what he imaged and that it's not extraordinary. Maybe there's somebody that knows the answer. And great, mystery solved. But at this point, I'm as baffled as you and the nanotechnologist, the technician on the scope was that day.
His reaction was priceless, right? And
absolutely priceless.
Absolutely priceless. Now, what did he have to say after that? Probably off camera to you about that, because I mean he obviously was pretty freaked out.
He was baffled, and as a scientist, I think he needed. I mean, look, he's not the end all and be all of what this is. Like, we need to do more and find out more. But he it was like you saw that reaction where he couldn't believe it, what he was seeing. I mean, because he looks through the scope all the time,
right?
And he kind of freaked out for a second, like, what is this? And then he collected himself, says, okay, let's keep going. Let's get more images. Let's keep going. He was very professional about it and didn't jump to conclusions. I mean, at no point does he or do I say this is alien technology. We don't know. But then at the end of the film, we're just back at his house, just having a beer after, basically. And you can see him just kind of go through it in his mind, try to explain what he's seen to the best of his ability. We can't make this today. No one can make this. We will be able to make this one day. And I thought that was really interesting.
Did you ever drop the alien bomb on him?
I never told him anything.
Right.
I didn't want, I just said we might have an exotic alloy. I said, or we have an empty vial of ethanol. I don't know. This is your field, dude. Take me on this ride. So, we've remained friends and we've debated it back and forth, trying to look at like natural percolation that happens with alloys or something. I mean, we were trying to figure out how this could be fabricated in nature. And, it's an open case and it's a fantastic ride. The short film is a fantastic ride and it's just the beginning. And who knows, what I'm most excited about with Nano Man is the next piece I'll be putting out, which is about his endeavors with low energy nuclear reactions, aka cold fusion. It's pretty amazing because check this out. Got a whole bunch of geeky scientists that have been working on this for decades. They think they might have cracked something with stability, right? Because that's the problem with cold fusion or low energy nuclear reactions, is essentially getting them to be consistent.
Right.
So they're all talking about it and, we can read the numbers today and we think we got it. I'm like, hey guys, can we light a light bulb with this? Can we do something for the camera? Because like reading numbers is not going to do anything. And they kind of pause, like look at me like I'm crazy and then go, I think we can. And for 2 days, Nano Man and his father actually, who's a really accomplished scientist, built, essentially a diode device that would see the differential in temperature enough to blink and charge the little diode. And when you see the full length of this, we don't know if it's going to work. I certainly don't know if it's going to work. We hope it works. And there's this eureka moment. And I was too excited, so I put it on the website. If you go to extraordinarybeliefs.com and go to the I Am Nano Man section, it's like a couple videos down, you see his genuine reaction, Chris's, for 5 minutes and 37 seconds when he starts screaming my name, that he's like, it's working. And he was as shocked as everybody. And you can see these scientists freak out that they've achieved what appears to be a stabilized version of cold fusion.
Now, I've seen the video and I've seen the reaction, and they pull you into that little, I guess it's a lab, right?
It's a wild home personal lab. A number of strange ones, like underground and stuff. These guys don't mess around.
No, not at all. And you go in there and everybody's freaking out, and there it is, the blinking light. What did you think? I mean, it's a pretty exciting film to watch. What did you think you were seeing? Because you show the setup that they have, and you can take a few minutes to describe that too as well. You pan across that. You can see the computer screen that is showing the voltage output, right? You see that too as well. And then there's the blinking light. What did you think at that moment? Because obviously the U.S. Patent Office says this is impossible, right?
Well, in fact, no. People know that this is a true reaction. It's just a matter of getting it consistent. They know that it can happen from time to time. And most people, they have different kind of chemical reactions in which they use to get to this point. Deuterium and palladium is the one that I've been focusing on and documenting. Right. People that even machine their own, palladium and get it ready. But basically what I thought I was seeing was, what appeared to be the first time in history a light bulb, a diode, was lit with true cold fusion on demand. And if that is the case, and it could be the case, then that was a historic moment. I mean, they both think it is.
Was it replicated?
Oh, yeah. That initial experiment, we had shown over the course of a long time, increase in temperature through the reaction, but nobody had really thought to do something visual for the camera. So that's what was really cool, was you get this visual blinking light for the first time. I mean, there's a number of devices in that laboratory that have been consistently putting out energy for, I think up to 15, maybe 20 years, one individual device in there. That, they've been working on this for a long time, these scientists. So this was just a special moment because it was kind of a eureka moment where we could do something that hadn't been done before, or they could. And I believe that's what we documented, and that's going to be for the scientific community to analyze and to study and to see. Right now, I'm just putting together the documentary, and then we'll let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, what's really great about that moment is their lack of words. Right?
Yes.
There was no deep scientific discussion at this moment, folks. It was a couple of guys jumping around a room. Well, his dad was actually seated, but you know what I mean?
That was, his father's not in the film. That was actually a colleague of his. His father is someone else who will appear in the feature-length version of this film. But what you saw was right out of the movie Nerds. I mean, it was people jumping up and down with success. And it was so cool to be part of, to see these guys having worked so long and to feel that they have received a positive result and actually done something that hadn't been done before. To be there was an honor. It remains to be seen if it is a correct reaction or not. But it is an exciting moment, and I will put out that film. That is the next one coming out on Nano Man.
A quick question from, there's a bunch of them in Twitter, but and you're probably reading this right now. Have you spoken to Bob Lazar recently, like in the last few months?
Yes.
Okay. See? Yes. What did you talk about?
So, anyway, look, Bob's a private guy. Let's keep it that way. I respect him very much and what he's done. You'll be hearing more about and hopefully from Bob. You've got some other great guests coming on your show. I think that in the future, maybe some questions will be answered. Bob's a friend. He's a good guy. And I think that he deserves his privacy until he's ready to not have it.
Okay. Wow. I'll respect that. What do you think about the term and the word whistleblower it's been a little loose lately. And certainly in ufology, we've had, without naming names, but a lot of whistleblowers have been coming forward and speaking. What do you think about this?
The people that I have been able to get true information from would, in general, in their lifetime, never stand in front of the camera and say things like are being said today. It just doesn't happen that way. It doesn't work that way. So I'm calling BS. And I could be wrong, and that's fine with me. But ultimately, there are people who will talk out over, like Lazar did. They have to be very unique circumstances for them to come out. And I think that there should be protection for true whistleblowers. And I think that we need to be careful as we let the information out. And I am an open person that people can come to for this because I have sat on stories and will continue to sit on them until the people I've spoken with are ready to let them out. That's kind of what I'm doing. That's kind of what I started to get known for in this field of filmmaking. So I hope people come forward. I think there's a huge signal to noise problem and a lot of BS out there. But those of you who have been part, subcontractors or whatnot, of these non-terrestrial projects, open door policy. I get emails all the time, some which I can follow through with, some of which I can't. And then, of course, you have meetings with people and they want the information out, but they face great personal threat if they crack the egg.
What's the next film? What are you going to finish next? I should say everything. That was always my problem with Jeremy Corbell is teasing. You tease us, man. So what is the next one that you're actually going to complete?
Yeah, so if you look on my site, I probably have about 10 available right now. One feature film called Patient 17 and a number of shorts that are on these subjects. If you kind of go through them, I think the ones that are most begging to be done right now is the cold fusion story on Nano Man, and then Mr. Moonwalker, which was, again, I believe the last interview with Dr. Edgar Mitchell before he passed away. I spent days with him going over all topics from ufology to phenomenology to everything from psychokinesis and onward. All of my films have teasers there, so you can go see little parts of them. But there is a lot of content available when you go and watch. There's a number of short films that you can purchase as well as the feature Patient 17. So I would say, most likely, it's going to be Mr. Moonwalker on Dr. Edgar Mitchell, and then also the Cold Fusion Nano Man story. Those are probably the ones that I'm going to be working on over the next few months.
I'm getting a request here to do a little overtime. You want to hang on for another 10 minutes?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it. All right, just because you fade or not, it's like that nobody wants this to end. But I actually we're going to go in a different direction. I've got an interesting question. I'm going to whisper it to you in your headphones during the break. I'm going to warm you up to it, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Jeremy Corbell is our guest. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What a conversation tonight. ExtraordinaryBeliefs.com is the website. I'll be right back.
Here, and you are listening to my boy Jimmy Church on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter. But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-618-WAVE, 888-618-WAVE, or visit mydryhome.com. mydryhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hard shell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Teppy.
Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. Guest tonight, Jeremy Corbell, talking about his filmmaking. And for me, and as you go and you look at Jeremy's stuff, and I really mean this, it's eye candy. It's eye candy. The information is incredible, but it's really good to look at. And Jeremy is seriously, I know I'm running this in the ground, but it's pure eye candy. It's so well shot. I am such a movie geek guy, and I pick everything apart. And your stuff is just great to look at. So,
oh, thanks, Jimmy.
Yeah, and I really mean that. Now, I'm gonna go here. I want to catch you off guard a little bit, but I want your opinion. What do you think, and why this flat Earth thing managed to catch? It actually caught. What do you think is going on here?
I think it's the absolute most ridiculous thing that anybody could ever try to defend. And I think that, people just like being contentious with other people. And if someone's going to listen, then they'll say something absolutely ridiculous. Thus, the flat Earth theory.
Well, you as a filmmaker, cameras, lenses, what's going on. A lot of this stuff hinges on every single image of planet Earth ever since the beginning of everything has been doctored and photoshopped to show around Earth. I mean, first off, how is that possible, number one? But number two, that is what they are, a bulk of what they are defending this with is that it's all one big conspiracy.
Mm-hmm. Look, it takes a stick, a measuring device. You don't even need a compass, and you'll instantly know that there's no substance to the flat Earth theory. It's absolutely ludicrous. And, the deal is, a lot of life is ludicrous. So I give them a high five, whoever holds this theory. But really, it's just people that like to argue points which make people angry because they're so stupid.
Oh, okay, there's that part of it. And then there's the other half, and I 100% agree with you. Then there's the other half of the contingent that has actually bought into this. How is that possible?
I don't know. They should get a stick and put it out. They should take 2 sticks, put them out in the sun, and get a measuring device, and then they'll be able to know that it's BS. I mean, I don't know what to say, Jimmy. This is outside of the scope of my expertise at the minimum. Okay,
Right.
And then on the other level, I think it's just, people like to believe absurd crap, and you run into it all the time in these fields, and it's something that makes me bang my head into the cactus out here. I don't know what to say. Other than it is not a theory I subscribe to. And no, I don't want your emails about the flat earth theory. Thank you. They'll go straight to my shredder.
Yeah, it's so funny. According to everybody that is part of this thing, that I'm a NASA shill. I'm just like,
Right. No,
dude.
definitely, Jimmy. I mean, seriously, man, you better be getting paid a lot of money for propagating this round earth crazy theory of yours.
Now let's have some fun really quick for the audience.
Okay.
Your favorite UFO case in history. I've got mine. The Rex Heflin photographs from Santa Ana, California, still to this day floor me. And I think that really stands on its own. The Rhodes photographs from 1947 in Phoenix, Arizona, to me, stand on their own. We have the obvious things that are out front. But for you, what are your favorites?
I'm really interested in things like the miracle of Fatima. There are these historic cases that are documented independently, by individuals who saw and had a mass experience that somehow, can be taken as a religious experience or can be looked at scientifically. And that is a case where we have reports and reporters and everybody from, physicians to construction workers to skeptics to believers to religious to atheists. And everybody saw something that day. So what's most fascinating to me are these mass sightings when you have people who don't know each other, and then you see, what did they see? How did they experience it? And what I've been focusing kind of under the radar in the last year or so on a few things, but one in particular is, I have a couple of these sightings where, people I know and I've gotten to know, said, I was standing there. My child was standing next to me. All I heard was a hum. And we get out of the car to see if it's the car, and everybody on the road gets out of their car. And my child looks to me, who's 8, and says, Mom, I thought you said aliens didn't exist. And the mom looks at the kid and says, they don't exist. What are you talking about? And the kid points up. And above her was a craft, triangular-shaped UFO in 1985 on the highway. It was so big, it spanned the horizon. She estimated with her hands, looked to me like she's probably talking about something that was over 2 miles wide. So she knows there were other witnesses because she was there. Her child witnessed it too. And they saw other people looking at this thing. Those excite me because this never hit the news. I know exactly where, I know exactly when, and I know that, I can find other witnesses. Those excite me. Mass sightings, because they're less common now. If the phenomenon itself is a trickster, like we've learned from Skinwalker Ranch, if indeed it is a trickster and it is knowledgeable about our technologies and how it presents this theater to us of UFOs, to show or not to show, that is the question, right? Then these are the cases that we can really study and look at. So as far as my favorite UFO case, right now I'd say it's the miracle at Fatima. I believe that to be a UFO case.
Are you ever going to turn your cameras to history, megalithic structures, or the investigation of that, or, like Göbekli Tepe? Are you interested in doing
what's
any of
really
that?
always Pumapunku has been on my radar. What an incredible structure.
Right.
The idea that something out of diorite has to be cut with laser or diamond tip tools, and the people that were indigenous there said we inherited this megalithic stone structure that crumbled somehow to the ground, and we had copper and chicken bones and there's no way we could cut it. These structures are absolutely incredible. Now, we have either lost technology as a version of humanity prior to this technological version, or we got help from somewhere else. Because even today, the resources it would take to try to replicate something like that would be so tremendous that we have lost technology or we were helped. And so I don't know I can move the needle forward on those subjects, although they do fascinate me, other than repeating what other people have said who are more qualified than me to tackle those issues.
Right.
So I'm not sure. If there's somebody who is investigating that I feel would be good to point the camera at, then I may do that. But as of right now, I just stand in awe of what it was created before us on this earth.
Yeah, when you look at something like Göbekli Tepe, which is, 10, 12,000 years old, 7,000 years older than anything that was supposed to be, right? We have that big gap in history. It all happened at 3,500 BC, right? And
numbers of gaps in history. I mean,
right?
Yeah.
And you look at Göbekli Tepe, which the historians themselves told us that wasn't supposed to exist, but there it is. Now we need to. Or somebody needs to explain, right? Somebody's got some explaining to do, because either you were right when you said to us forever that everything happened at 3,500 BC, or it's not that way. And now we have Göbekli Tepe, and which is beautiful, but it's extraordinary. But now we have this gap in history of 7,000 years. And if you're going back to 10,000 BC now, with Göbekli Tepe, serious Stone Age, end of Ice Age situation, that history is not what we are told.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very simple. We think we know more than we do, and that is why we are shocked by the fact that there was a technology utilized here on Earth prior to Homo sapiens sapien as we know it, that somehow was more advanced than what we got. Everything, from the megalithic structures to things are baffling scientists every day. We have lost information, and that is sad. That which was carved in stone remains.
Yeah, and I'll let you go with this. But one of the things that, and it's in your anonymous video too as well, is the whole demon connection and the religious connection throughout history to things that were happening in the stars. The Wright brothers were in 1900 whatever, right? Prior to that, we had a few airships and a few balloons. Prior to that, prior to 1875, 1850, there was nothing in the air. Quite frankly, nothing. And it has been documented. There's something going on. We just don't know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, as my background as a fine artist, there is a segment in the stories section on my website that goes through some of these spectacular pieces of artwork. I have a painting, which most people might be aware of, I guess. It was a Flemish artist who basically in 1710, when it was painted, it shows the baptism of Christ, and it shows a flying saucer with a number of light beams going right down on Christ. I mean, it's absolutely incredible in some of the ancient artworks, or maybe even not so ancient, these things in the sky that are clearly put by artists into paintings, because this phenomenon is ancient. Look, all I ask from your audience, anybody of my audience who watches the films, is that I can hope to allow people that they're open enough, like I hope they're open enough to construct their own architecture of understanding about all of this. And the idea is that if they can construct their own architecture of understanding when it comes to UFOs or the phenomenon itself, a bigger concept, that it can become a more permanent facet to their character, something that they'll talk about, something they'll think about. The idea is to weaponize your curiosity. That's what happened to me. And I hope tonight on this show, anybody out there listening, that they too have been weaponized.
You are the very best, Jeremy. Thank you so much. And let's not wait a year this next time around, my brother.
You got it.
Thank you so much. Jeremy Corbell, again, his website, do it tonight, extraordinarybeliefs.com. Go watch Nano Man. I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
FoodForLiberty.com sells high-quality, storable foods from Numana. And right now, take advantage of our summer special. Purchase 2 family packs and we'll send you a Pro Pure Water Pitcher, a $70 value, free. This premium pitcher is ideal for use with just about any water source and removes more contaminants than other brands. And it comes with a filter that lasts up to 2 full years. Whether you need to be prepared in the event of an emergency, you're an outdoor sports enthusiast, Numana is known for high-quality, great-tasting, GMO-free, super nutritious food with no chemical preservatives. And with a 25-year shelf life, you can't beat the feeling of being food secure when you need it most. Go to foodforliberty.com right now for great-tasting, high-quality, storable foods from Numana. Buy 2 family packs and get the Pro Pure Water Pitcher free. It makes good sense to be prepared. Get it at foodforliberty.com.
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's out of here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you and Hillary for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With a mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. Thank you, Jeremy Corbell. His website is extraordinarybeliefs.com. Go check it out. Eye candy. I'm telling you, eye candy. And you've got to check out the Shamrock Social Club. Check that out, too, as well. Incredible stuff. He is just talented beyond words. extraordinarybeliefs.com. All right, I got to get to all of the news that you know nothing about. During a scheduled press conference on September 7th at the PlayStation Theater, New York, Sony Corporation is expected to announce 2 new variants of PlayStation 4. Now, the Japanese company said in June it would launch an enhanced graphics version of PS4, and rumors of other variants had begun in earnest on Twitter and so forth. Well, going by Shortman82, the Twitter user posted a series of images today of the slim version of PS4 for sale on an advertisement with a British classified site, Gumtree. Now, it was trippy, and he posted, right? A few hours later, Shortman82 had the console in his possession and posted pictures of it today. You want to see what the new PS4 Slim looks like? Just go to our Facebook page for Jimmy Church Radio. We posted pictures there. Yes, it was leaked and then somehow was for sale. He's got the box and everything. Go and check it out. And right now, it appears to me to be legit, number one. Number two, Sony isn't in denial, but they were shipping this product and didn't make the announcement. Now, back to the MH370 front. A trio of amateur investigators met up this weekend to scour the South African shoreline for evidence of the missing plane. Blaine Gibson, Niels Kruger, and Liam Lauder, who among them have uncovered a dozen suspected pieces of debris from the Boeing 777, started an unofficial search Saturday near Durban. Gibson is a lawyer from Seattle. He found debris this past March in Mozambique that Malaysian Transport Minister Liao Cheong Lai said had a high possibility of being from MH370. Lauder, a teenager from South Africa, discovered a wing part this past December that Australian Minister of Infrastructure and Transport said was almost certainly from the missing flight. Kruger, an archaeologist from South Africa, located an engine part in March that also had links to the plane. Authorities, with the formal search of MH370, this is where it gets crazy, have scanned about 110,000 square kilometers of predetermined areas without results. Unless new evidence turns up, ministers from Australia, Malaysia, and China will suspend the hunt for the plane. There you go. Well, Ralph Lauren has officially pulled its sponsorship of U.S. Olympic swimmer Ryan Lochte, according to news reports today. Earlier today, it was announced that he had lost his endorsement deal with swimwear company Speedo USA. Yeah. How quickly it comes to an end. He says he's sorry. He exaggerated the stories and so forth. I guess the only part of the story that was true was a gun was pulled, but it was because they were peeing on the gas station. North Korea is doing it again. They're warning of a nuclear strike against South Korea and the United States as the allies begin their annual military drills, and it started today, aimed at countering potential threats from North Korea. The reclusive nation said it would turn Seoul and Washington into a heap of ashes if the exercises show any sign of violence towards its territory. The 2-week-long drills, which involve tens of thousands of South Korean and U.S. forces, come at a time of heightened tensions following the defection of a London-based North Korean senior diplomat and the announcement of the deployment of U.S.-made advanced anti-missile systems in South Korea. And they're all going to install and be operational by the end of 2017. Now, this is my point. It seems like, I know it's officially been a year, but haven't they been doing drills? I mean, over the last year, have they ever really stopped doing these drills in South Korea? Right? I'm thinking, what? A year ago? No, this has been going on constantly. Right? I say just install the anti-missile system, and as soon as they, fire off another test missile, shoot it out of the sky. Let's just end this stuff now. If we have the technology, and if it actually works. Also posted over on our Facebook page today, a sprawling estate in the south of France has become the most expensive property in the world. It's known as Les Cèdres. The home is located near Nice in Saint-Jean-Cap-Ferrat and has been offered for, are you ready? Are you sitting down? $1.1 billion. Yeah, not even Oprah's pad is worth, what, 100 mil? 1.1 billion ducks quacking in the pond. The 10-bedroom property, built in 1830, comes with a huge swimming pool and is one of the most impressive gardens in the world, containing 15,000 plants and nearly 20 greenhouses with rare tropical flora. The house features stables for up to 30 horses, as well as a ballroom. I would think so. American tech tycoon Paul Allen and British composer Andrew Lloyd Webber are among your neighbors. The mansion previously belonged to Suzanne Marnier, the heiress to the Grand Marnier liquor dynasty that has owned the house since 1924. Again, go check out the pictures over on our Facebook page. Now, a dust storm swept through Arizona's largest city Sunday, delaying flights at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport and creating spectacular visuals. The pictures are absolutely amazing, and the phenomenon is known by its Arabic name, Haboob. Phoenix on Sunday evening resembled a scene from Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. While such sandstorms cannot actually happen in Dubai as depicted in the movie, they are fairly common in the American Southwest. Now, I was driving from Tucson to Phoenix, I'm going to guess 1995, 1996, and I drove through one of these. And I saw it on the horizon, and it was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon and in the evening. And I'm driving, and I see this in the distance, and it was kind of orange, and it was a wall. And it was orange, and it went from horizon to horizon, from my left to my right, across the desert, went right across the freeway. And I drove right into it. I could not see 1 foot past my windshield. Forget about the front of the car. I could not see anything. I was driving 1 or 2 miles an hour, and I eventually had to pull over to the side of the road and stop. I've never seen anything like this in my life, and the car was like a half inch of sand. It was unbelievable to go through. And these happen all season long in Arizona. And these pictures of Phoenix over the past weekend are incredible. Again, go to our Facebook page. We've got stuff posted. Oh, Bob just did it here. Look at this. Yeah, I'm going to retweet that. That is Phoenix, man. Look at that. Yeah, and you can see the orange tinge here that I'm referring to. It was crazy. It was the craziest thing I've ever gone through. Archaeologists have recently stumbled upon a unique finding, a giant underground city in Turkey. Unlike other underground shelters discovered so far, which proved to be temporary housing, this was a city that people lived in. Again, go and check this out. 1600 BC. Go and check it out over on our Facebook page. Now, according to a NASA scientist, planet Saturn has already been a breeding ground for unidentified flying objects. Now, his name, Normal Berggren. He's a NASA scientist, and he states that living alien UFO spaceships have started proliferating on planet Saturn's rings. Berggren was a renowned engineer. He worked with NASA's Ames Research Center. In several interviews concerning the situation of the solar system, Berggren claims that a number of UFO spaceships have reached critical levels. Go and read the complete story over on our Facebook page. It's Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, Ruben Uriarte is right here on Fade to Black for the first time. It's going to be one of those nights tomorrow night. Night 2 of 2 straight weeks of pure UFO here on Fade to Black. Our executive producer is Rita Camarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Mark D. Kovar. Thanks to LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Faded by Dale. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication, KGRA, The Planet. Thank you, Jeremy Corbell. Extraordinarybeliefs.com. Go check out Nano Man. This broadcast is produced, owned, and copyrighted 2016 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me right now on Twitter at JChurchRadio. I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Tappy.